in the maritime front. Indian Navy's action is part of the escalation ladder mechanism which we have worked out amongst 3 services. This time, if Pakistan dare take any action, and Pakistan knows it, what we are going to do. That's all.
Okay. आपके सवाल का जवाब मैं पहले दे चुका हूं। आपके सवाल का जवाब मैं पहले दे चुका हूं, इसलिए मैं बस उस तक ही सीमित रखूंगा और इतना कहना चाहूंगा कि आने वाले दिनों में आपको खुद ही पता चल जाएगा और ऐसी बातें छुपी नहीं रहती हैं, तो पता चल जाएगा. So at this time we'll just let it be.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have 1 or 2 more questions, sir. So please, they are going to be outside. You can speak to them there also. 104. Yeah, ask sir.
Sir, Dinakar with the Hindu newspaper.
Are you surprised that you got this question?
No, sir. I'm waiting for this to look. Sir, can you give a number of assets we lost, because there's been a lot of speculation going on, international media writing a lot of things about our platforms, including Rafale. I mean, Pakistan claiming that Rafale has been downed, etc. Can you put that question to rest and clarify on that?
I guess that question is for me. All right, I'm happy that you've asked this question. You know, we are in a combat scenario, and losses are a part of combat. The question that you must ask us, okay, and indeed that we must ask ourselves, you inclusive, is have we achieved our objectives? Have we achieved our objective of decimating that terrorist camp? And the answer is a thumping yes. And the results are for the whole world to see. As for the details, what could have been, how many numbers, which platform did we lose? You know, at this time, I would not like to comment on that, because we are still in a combat situation. And if I comment on anything, it will only be adversary. So we don't want to give him any advantage at this stage. All I can say is that we have achieved our objectives that we selected, and all our pilots are back home. Thank you.
Okay, hold. Please don't. Please be civil here. So we'll have 220 now.
Hello sir, this is Anita Chaudhary sir from Swadesh newspaper. मेरा सवाल है, क्योंकि हमारे जो पहले जो एक्शन रहा वो आतंकवाद के खिलाफ रहा, तो आतंकवाद में अजहर मसूद की तरफ से एक बयान जारी किया गया था जिसमें उन्होंने कहा कि हम इसका बदला लेंगे और जाज रुलाएंगे। तो क्या अगला, अगर खुदा न खास्ता अगला टेरर अटैक किसी भी तरह का होता है, तो क्या उसे एक्ट ऑफ वॉर में हमारी तरफ से लिया जाएगा और उसका क्या माकूल जवाब दिया जा सकता है?
मेरा इसमें सिर्फ एक ही जवाब है आपके लिए कि हमने अपनी कार्रवाई करी। हमने उसके बाद मैंने अपने स्टेटमेंट में भी बताया कि ये कम्युनिकेट करने की कोशिश करी कि हमने इस तरीके से ये जो स्ट्राइक्स हैं वो क्यों की। लेकिन जो हमारा एडवर्सरी है उसने जैसे मुनासिब समझा वो कार्रवाई करी। तो आपने देखा कि ये जो एक्टिविटीज़ चल रही हैं 3-4 दिन से, ये कोई वॉर से कम नहीं है। नॉर्मल सर्कमस्टांसेस में एक दूसरे देश की एयरफोर्सेस हवा में नहीं उड़ती हैं और एक दूसरे के ऊपर स्ट्राइक्स नहीं करती हैं। हर रात इंट्रूजन्स नहीं होते हैं। लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पर सीज फायर वायोलेशंस, आपके एक साथी ने सवाल पूछा था शुरू में, एक सीज फायर अंडरस्टैंडिंग था, वो भी जा चुका है। उस सीज फायर अंडरस्टैंडिंग के जाते जो फायरिंग हो रही है लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल में, उसमें घुसपैठ की कोशिश हो रही है। आमतौर पर ये घुसपैठ लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल में टेररिस्ट करते हैं, लेकिन हमें इन्फॉर्मेशन है कि हो सकता है ये पाकिस्तान आर्मी की टोलियां भी हों जो हमारे पोस्ट के ऊपर खामी पहुंचाने की कोशिश कर रही हैं। तो ये सारी एक्टिविटीज़ तो वॉर में शामिल हैं। तो ये कहना मुश्किल है कि आगे क्या होगा, वो स्पेक्यूलेटिव जोन में आ जाता है और मैं स्पेक्यूलेट नहीं करना चाहता हूँ। हर एक सिचुएशन अलग होती है और उससे एक तरीके से डील किया जाता है।
सर मैं एक सवाल इसका मैं जवाब देना चाहता हूँ, एक मिनट। जो मिलिट्री होता है, आवर मेन जॉब इज टू प्रिवेंट वॉर एंड मेंटेन पीस एंड स्टेबिलिटी। सो इट इज़ नॉट दैट आवर रिस्पॉन्स इज अ ग्रेडेड रिस्पॉन्स। दैट मीन्स अगर किसी ने किया तो उसको ग्रेडेड उसमें किया, जैसे टेररिस्ट एक्शन हुआ तो व्हाट वी डिड इज द टेररिस्ट एक्शन एंड वी डिस्ट्रॉयड ऑल द टेररिस्ट कैंप्स। उसके बाद आपने देखा कि उनने थोड़ा सा कोशिश किया तो हमारे एयरफोर्स एंड आर्मी ने क्या किया, तो मिलिट्री टारगेट्स हैं उनके ऊपर थोड़ा। सो आवर एम इज टू मेंटेन पीस एंड टेल द आवर एडवर्सरी दैट यू डू दिस एंड द रिस्पॉन्स विल बी ब्लडी।
Okay, now as per the, please, we'll have 166 and 25, and after that, no more, please.
Sir, this side.
Ladies and gentlemen, please maintain,
Sir,
I
this
request
side,
you to please be quiet.
Jal Ghai?
No.
This side, sir.
We have only two questions left, 166.
sir.
Yeah, please ask.
So I'm Rahul Singh from Hindustan Times, sir. So you were totally on top of the game in the kind of losses you've inflicted on the enemy. I mean, we saw the slides and everything. So it kind of comes across that you were batting it 99 and you decided to declare your innings. What are your thoughts on that, sir? And do you think, are you weighing the option of the Pakistan Army using this time, buying this time of the so-called ceasefire or the understanding? And you talked about how they could not be trusted. So buying time to kind of build up their war reserves, getting stuff from their friends like Turkey or China, are we considering that possibility, sir?
Look, see, the call came from the Pakistani side to speak about cessation of hostilities. What pauses mean during such conflicts is known to everybody. You know, I don't want to go into the pros and cons of how preparation for war is made. You know, that is a process in itself. But I think my senior colleague here, the DG Air Operations, spoke, or he alluded at least, you know, to what this operation was precisely and specifically meant for. And I think that's something that we achieved, you know, right at the outset. Had we had the option not to go further, we probably wouldn't have. But we've been compelled to be in this situation. And as you've seen, the armed forces of India, and you know, you've got the three Director Generals sitting here, we are always prepared to face any eventuality. And like I said, that's for the sovereignty, the territorial integrity, and the safety of our citizens. So whatever has to be done will be done. You know, I am not so concerned about what Pakistan will do in this time. I am only concerned about what we will do. We have a roadmap and a plan, and we will follow it diligently, and we will follow it to the T. You know, that's the contention that I want to make here today.
Ma'am, please. Okay, the last question, and ma'am, 25, she's been asking since the first one.
Sir, I'm Nandita. Sir.
She's not asking a question.
Sir, I'm Nandita Dagar, DAGAR from DD News and DD India. Sir, I wanted to ask you that my question is to General Ghai. Sir, you spoke to your counterpart yesterday and the Pakistani counterpart. Sir, what is the Indian Army's assessment that despite that agreement, that talk that you had, despite that agreement coming into effect at 1700 hours yesterday, why did they violate it? And number two, yesterday at the Joint Defense Ministry and Foreign Ministry briefing, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh and Colonel Sophia Qureshi had told us that we have cited the Pakistani troops amassing at the borders and at the LOC. Sir, has that situation changed? Have they withdrawn? And sir, if in case, despite Now there is a lull, of course, but if tonight again, the enemy again carries out shelling and aerial intrusions through drones, what is going to be our response, sir? Thank you.
So without outlining the specifics of that response, I've already made it clear that there will be a response and it will be fierce and it will be punitive. Why the Pakistan Army chose the option of violating the understanding that was arrived at earlier yesterday, I think that's a question that we best answered by the Pakistan DGMO. I wouldn't be able to, give you that. But, in situations such as these, and if you go back into any conflict, sometimes these understandings take time, to fructify and manifest on ground. But without, getting into the reasons, it is our mandate to be prepared at all times, and that we were. It's not as if because there was an understanding we weren't prepared. I must tell you that the armed forces were on a very, very high alert, and they continue to be in that state even as we speak.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, please, ma'am, please. Okay, thank you so much for coming today. Those who have missed asking a question, those who have missed, see, I knew I'll grab this attention from you like this. Those who have missed the opportunity to ask a question can give me a written one. I'll definitely get back to you with that. And also, they are they are invited for a cup of tea in my office day after tomorrow. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
So that was the briefing of the first kind of the DGMOs of the three services. They have in fact confirmed a lot of the details that have been circulating, but they have now come out and confirmed that several military air bases of the Pakistani side have been struck. But these are very precision strikes which did not target entire compounds, but specific buildings that was meant to send a message to Pakistani side that that India is capable of doing this action, so they better not provoke India with the kind of drone attacks and missile attacks that they were attempting. Of course, there are certain details that the DGMOs have not given for obvious reasons, but one of the big updates that has come in from that press conference is the fact that Air Marshal, the DGAO has confirmed that India has downed several Pakistani jets. He didn't put a number on it. He said he has the number, but he'll leave it at that. And he also went on to say that these are not things that can be hidden for too long. So the details of these Pakistani jets that have gone down, even though they didn't enter Indian airspace, but there was clearly air-to-air action that has been mentioned in this press conference. So the Pakistani jets that have gone down, he said, in days to come, you will see and hear about it. This is not something that can be hidden as far as public is concerned. And he has also gone on to say that these are high-tech planes. He has not mentioned the exact platform or generation. On the Indian side, when the question was asked of any losses of our jets, he has not put a number on it. He has only said that there is certain information that they're not willing to reveal right now, but all our pilots are safe. So there is speculation or misinformation that was being spread by Pakistani media and others that a pilot of ours has been taken captive, etc. So certainly those news have been debunked earlier, but they have been debunked officially now. But the big update coming in, few Pakistani jets, Akash, my colleague, is also joining us, few Pakistani jets have been downed. So that's more than a couple, and I think few means more than multiple. That gives us just a bit of a hint of what the losses on the Pakistani side could be. Akash, can you hear me? All right, looks like we've lost. Do we have that link back? Okay, we're checking that. Let's get Akash back with us, but let me also reiterate some of the other details that have been given. So finally, details of the air bases in Pakistan that were attacked have been given. It has been confirmed. Multiple of them have been struck, but with precise action, which is of particular buildings, either a radar or a ammunition building or a other building. In some cases, it seems it's a hangar that have been attacked, not entire complexes. Akash, my colleague, is joining us. I'm also joined by Yashovardhan Kumar Sinha, former diplomat, Colonel Rohit Dev, defense expert with me. But Akash, I'm coming to you first. The big confirmation that has come in from the press conference is that yes, there was air-to-air action, even though no sides crossed the international border in air, and we have downed a few Pakistani jets.
Yes, it is a big confirmation, especially at a time when there was a lot of narrative that Pakistani Air Force is superior and that's why they have downed the Indian jets and so on and so forth. This time around, the officer, the 3-star officer from the Air Force has confirmed that we indeed downed their, aerial platforms, specifically the fighter jets, though he did not confirm, the names or the generation. Of course, it is because of the sort of assessment that Indian Air Force is carrying out at this point in time. But Shivani, a number of things, that were the highlight of this detailed press conference by these officers, starting from Army, they carried out precision strikes using, some sort of weapons, in their inventory. And, the first, in fact, highlight was that Pakistan was anticipating some sort of action by India, and that's why, they shifted individuals from these terror camps. And that's the reason why they filtered these locations after the intel input, and these 9 locations were selected only after that sort of assessment. Secondly, as far as Air Force is concerned, so Air Force has, successfully carried out, in fact, the targets that were the distant targets were given to Air Force, and Indian Air Force, in fact, used, the precision air-to-surface weapons. Now, when we say precision weapons, so we know that BrahMos is one of it, but then we have SCALP, we have several others, that our jets are equipped with. We know that how frontline aircraft, in fact, including Rafale, Mirage 2000 and also Su-30 MKI were scrambled on that particular day. We have, in fact, got this information from our sources. Now, Navy was also a part of the operation. Till now, we did not hear anything, about Navy, but Navy was also there, a part of the operation. In fact, they were, in fact, the battle group was there in the Arabian Sea with a posture that they can destroy, the port that the officers named, in fact, the Karachi port, if I'm not wrong. They, in fact, mentioned that how the posture was in such a way that if required, they can, carry out some sort of activity or action. As far as, the violation is concerned, Shivani, I'll just wrap in 1 minute. As far as violation is concerned, so violation has been happening, and the important part is that while they are violating the ceasefire, there are attempts of infiltration, and one big thing that has been mentioned by the DGMO, that possibly Pakistani army was also trying to infiltrate to carry out some sort of action, because we have seen the bat attempts and everything else related to it. Till now, only terrorists used to infiltrate, but now Pakistani army is also trying to infiltrate.
No, so the entire military machinery is definitely on high alert. I have to take quick comments from Yashovardhan Kumar Sinha and Colonel Rohit Dev as well. Mr. Sinha, I'm coming to you first. Very important that we hear from our military, members themselves to get this information, because it puts to rest speculation. It also shows our enemy that, we are not going to allow your propaganda to run unfettered, because this was exactly what was needed, these information. And let's focus. We'll keep our guest on air, and let's focus on those pictures, because those are the pictures of the before and after that the Indian military has provided of the precise targets at the Pakistani air bases. Mr. Sinha.
Thank you for having me on your show. I think I'm delighted that the armed forces, the DGMO, the Director Air Operations, the Director Naval Operations have come in front of the media and the wider world and given a very detailed presentation of what transpired between the 7th of May and now. And the details given, especially on the targets that they struck, both the first wave at hitting the terror targets and the military targets when they responded to Pakistan's attempt to target our military installations. I think it was a most brilliant operation Congratulations to our armed forces. We all need to be very proud about that. However, the narrative that is being spread in the West in particular is a narrative which is not entirely correct. In fact, it is most of it is wrong, and this presentation by our senior officers dispels many of the sort of so-called facts that are being presented on the world stage. And I think this is very important because it clearly shows the superiority of Indian arms over our adversary, and of course the need to always maintain vision. And now we will have to see how we handle this matter in the global stage, internationally, diplomatically, because I personally feel that what the US has claimed to do, has claimed it has done, is obviously been done at Pakistan's behest. They went running to the US, their patrons in the past, and perhaps even now, pleading for help because they were being decimated. I have personally landed at Chaklala, the PAF airbase that was hit in Rawalpindi, and I know how important that particular airbase is to the Pakistan military. Once again, congratulations to our armed forces for a magnificent performance.
Yeah, let's focus on those visuals. Actually, you talked about the Noor Khan Air Base, Chaklala, and this is right in the heart of the major city. Let me just run those pictures and see. The damage that they have talked about. Colonel Dev can speak over the significance of all of these installations and the very precise nature. Can we have those visuals, please, from Noor Khan Air Base on our screens? Yes.
Right. So, Shivani, firstly, as we were discussing before the brief, they have done two things. They have actually, gone into the entire post-strike damage assessment and explained to the world that what has been done and militarily achieved without even crossing the international border or the LC. That's the first thing. And second thing they have clarified on is the intent, and they did mention that the chief has taken the review. Now, it's a very, very delicate situation for Pakistan, and just, understand.
Can we, one second, sir, one second. Can we take those pictures full frame, please? Mr. Dev will talk over them. Yes, just keep the Noor Khan base on air, please. Yes.
Right. So what exactly has been done here is that once we have struck these places, Pakistan traditionally, till now they were playing a traditional game, but we were trying to give them a reply, and we're trying to get back to them and say that no more it can be tolerated. In that escalation, it's a very, very precarious situation for Pakistan, because before this, on all occasions without exception, whenever the ceasefire has been called, there has been nothing achieved as total ceasefire from the Pakistani side ever. There is a lot of pressure, like I was mentioning earlier, to conduct these, so-called terrorist movements across the border. And the DGMO was very explicit in saying that we are also observing some Pakistani troops trying to infiltrate. So these two things coupled, take it as a given that there will be a ceasefire violation. It is just now that what is the degree of preparedness and the punitive measure which India is willing to take hereafter and here on, and what is the magnitude. The magnitude might differ. So if they do this kind of activity along the LC, maybe there is no sharp reaction beyond, but yes, the military will attack in the correct response measure.
Okay.
But if it happens in the areas of Aranya, RS Pura, Jammu again, and also if you just go with the thought that what he was saying as the DGMO, he said that they were striking even our places of worship. So I think it emanates from the same thought which General Munir tried to put across before this strike. He tried to become more ideological, and then the entire run has been like that. The other thing I want to just highlight is also about what the DGMO said in the beginning. He said that the stated aim of Bharat was to strike the terror camps, non-escalatory in nature, non-targeting the military assets. And after that, it was Bharat which ranked the DGMO of Pakistan and said that we have done this for this ABC reason, and that's our intent, we have achieved. It was only then when the escalation started from the Pakistan side, because they couldn't, digest what was done. Now, let me spin it the other way. Every time India takes a dossier to the UN, to the friends in the West, to China, to anybody we go to, and everybody at every moment of time, tries to tell us that what is your coalition and what is the intent of this coalition. That has been happening right across. in this entire dossier making, what has happened this time is that Pakistan has given much in that dossier for the diplomatic and economic efforts to take place. So right from the picture which DGMO showed where they were attending funerals by the generals themselves and the terrorists themselves, right from the press briefer of Pakistanis in their exuberance in which they committed to having conducted Pulwama as per them successfully.
Yes.
I think all these add up
Sargodha,
now
please.
and Sargodha. And then what happened also in this briefing is while the DGMO was saying that he made this call and the punitive action was done, it also showcases Pakistani's intent, because every time a dossier is carried, they say we are the worst affected country on earth, we are suffering because of terrorism. So actually the DGMO of Pakistan should have thanked the DGMO of Bharat for having hit those terror targets, because Pakistan says we don't harbor terrorists and we don't want to abet terrorism.
Okay,
so
okay, all right. Just let's just stop there. I just want to focus one more time on the airbase pictures we have. Let's learn Sargodha on our screens, please, very quickly. Another key installation of the Pakistani army, and possibly a shot here is what woke up the Pakistani establishment and the Americans as well. There is obviously a whole list that was talked about. There is Chaklala, Rafiq, Rahim Yar Khan is the airport, Sukar, Sargodha, Jacobabad, UAVs being brought down as far as the Murid Rafiki airbase is concerned. There's Jacobabad pictures that have also been released by the Indian military. All of these are important because Pakistan is acting like there is no damage on their side, or that this was because, India was not happy with what we wanted, what they were doing. But, these images are the proof that India has not just struck, it has caused damage, it has also caused very precise damage. Let's focus on Jacobabad now, please. Rotate them, please. Let's put those images in focus, the ones that have been given by our army just recently. So you can see that these images showcase the kind of damage that has been caused. And Colonel Dev, the importance is that even amongst these complexes, very specific buildings have been, targeted, very precise manner.
So that is because the intelligence which has been collated over a period of time. They, in every complex, there are certain places where there are key assets and key personnel who are harbored. So you heard the DGMO when he said that they had shortlisted from amongst all the points on LC where the terrorists are being sent into India from those launch pads and their headquarters and training camps. They narrowed down to 21 initially because that was what you could actually strike from being in your own area and punitively. Thereafter, they got intelligence that certain launch pads or certain areas, training areas, are not occupied. So then they went on to see where the effect will come. And that is why, for the first time, we had to target territories in Pakistan, not POK, in Pakistan. And that was also from the point of view, if you actually saw that slide, he didn't mention as the DGMO probably, but they were in the first slide when they struck, I think, Muridki or someplace. There were two pictures of military, one brigadier and one general. And this I've been saying all across last 4 or 5 days on many channels as well, is that when the period of mobilization occurs, which happened on 23rd because they started taking their defensive postures, when Pakistan army mobilizes, their leadership and command and control elements, including the ISI, co-live and cohabitat and co-plan from the buildings of these terror network headquarters because that is the easier thing to do. And then they actually grow there. That is the reason when we struck, they have had casualties in their army, and that is why very properly even the Air Force DGMO
good
said
that you mentioned the issue of the casualties on the Pakistani army side, because at one point the figure was put at about 30 to 40. And then, of course, when they were asked to press on it, our generals said very clearly that it's not for us to assess their damage. Our target is our target.
There were three numbers.
Yes.
There were three numbers.
Okay, one second. Can we run the footage of the defense radar being destroyed that was given today, please, on our screens? Yeah.
There were three numbers. The first number was a number of 100 plus, which is the 9 places struck for the terrorists died, 100 plus. That is the intelligence. 35 to 40 is the casualty of the Pakistani armed forces, which has been said because of the initial intel of how many people live where. For example, if you hit a radar station and if there are 18 people in a command control center and next to it, so that is the way you count. Maybe all of them are not there. So that is there's a figure which they are trying to arrive, but it's not for us as a country who has stuck to write that figure. So obviously it's for Pakistan. But as far as we are concerned, we have acknowledged 5 casualties in the military. And obviously those numbers of 16 on the first day in the Jammu sector and others of the civilians we lost has also been accumulated at a cost by our country in terms of numbers. So we cannot be able to say how exact was how many killed, because I think that's a small thing. You should appreciate the strategic messaging of these strikes. A country without stepping up, without crossing the IB, has struck 9 centers which they wanted to. On escalation, they have struck 11 air bases and logistic centers, command control centers, and they have put credible deterrence from the sea. And I'm telling you, if this had gone for 3-4 more days with escalation, Pakistan would have been on its knees for a longer time actually. So I think that is the way to look at it in terms of the effort of the joint 3 services. Yes. And I think that's been very, very beautifully done. Very, very beautiful coordination between the Ministry of External Affairs and the DMA directly and through the RMO, and a good system in which the Prime Minister himself called upon the 2 chiefs, especially the Air Force and the Navy chief, to ask what needs to be done and how to be done. I think that's the way to look at how India has progressed to a very mature civil-military liaison, which is bearing fruits. And now I think the diplomatic parleys and the aggressiveness, how to nail Pakistan, how to get the FATF going, the economic sanctions, how to make USS pledge and this tom-tomming count, is up to us and Bharat to decide how we'll do it.
Okay,
so I think that is a beautiful thing to happen.
All right. I do thank both of our guests for joining us. And even as I go back across to my colleague Akash, who continues to bring us more. So there is this airfield that has been destroyed, the Pakistani airfield that was destroyed. Images of that were also presented in this press conference. Let's focus on those as well. Akash, very important that the military is taking this stance that we're going to come out and give you proof, because, this was necessitated because of what Pakistan was doing and what maybe some elements in the international community was also doing. So the footage of the Pakistani airfield destroyed, please. Akash, let's go across to Akash now.
Shivani, your audio is not clear, but if I'm not wrong, you're asking for the sort of destruction that the Indian Air Force carried out. As far as, these Air Force stations are concerned, so Noor Khan is one station, in fact, air base, from where they are, carrying out their transport aircraft operations. And we have been told that this particular airbase has, received maximum damage. Their runway is damaged. In fact, on runway, I was, seeing those satellite images at 2 different places. Their runway has got damages. Possibly their aircraft cannot fly because they are carrying the transport. They are flying their transport aircraft from their C-130Js specifically, and also as far as their drones are concerned, so they are operating, some sort of drones from there as well. As far as this particular Air Force station is concerned, so we have got critical AD systems, and the fact that it is in Rawalpindi, it is very close to the army headquarters as well. So hitting this base, in fact, sent a larger message that we can hit this airbase station, in fact airbase, and we can hit your army headquarters as well. So this was some sort of fear that they must have felt, and this is the reason why initially when communication was in fact the officers from this side tried to set up a communication after carrying out the attack on 7th of May. It was denied that, with a point that, retaliation would be there. But then, yesterday, they in fact, tried DGMO and, in fact said that, communication should be set up and we should, stop these military activities. Now, the important part is
updates coming in. Just stay with me. I'm going to come back to you. We've got some more breaking updates that are coming in. This whole issue of Kashmir has been raked up by, of course, Pakistan, but now the US as well. Now, top government sources are reiterating to us that this whole effort made by Donald Trump, US President, putting out on social media, offering to mediate on the issue of Kashmir is not something that the Indian government is up for. Kashmir is not up for mediation, and there's no change in the government's position as far as this matter is concerned. So that has been made very clear. One more time, my colleague Siddhant is bringing us more on this. Siddhant, over to you.
Well, yes, that's right. Indian government is upset with President Trump, mentioning about mediation of Kashmir. And in fact, the sources are telling us that there cannot be any mediation of Kashmir. And in fact, the position of Indian government as far as Kashmir issue is concerned is that the only issue left is the Pak-occupied Kashmir, issue of Pak-occupied Kashmir, which has been illegally occupied by Pakistan. So that particular territory needs to be handed over to India, and that is the only issue as far as Kashmir issue is concerned. Having said that, in the past also, that has never been the government of India's position as far as mediation over Kashmir is concerned, and this time around also, there is the same, government of India continues with the same position.
Okay.
This all has started after President Trump perhaps come up again with a social media post, mentioning about solution to the Kashmir issue, which has certainly not gone down well with the Indian government.
All right, Siddhant. Of course, for Indians, no reiteration is required, but a message needed to be sent out, and I'm sure it will be sent out diplomatically to the Americans as well. Let's also go across to our guest joining us, Lieutenant General Rajendra Singh, former DG Infantry, Tilak Devasher, author and former member of the National Security Advisory Board, Group Captain R.K. Narang, Senior Fellow of MP ITSA, and author Rajiv Dogra, former diplomat and Consul General to Karachi, all with us. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Group Captain, I'm coming to you first up. Very important details being provided by the Indian Air Force about the targets that India struck because of Pakistan, provoking us for 2 nights straight. The message that those targets sent, I'll come to that in just a bit, but I do have to focus on the other big headline we have from this press conference, which is that we have downed a few Pakistani jets. How do you look at that?
See, this war, Pakistan wanted to play a low-cost war. They were trying to inflict more damage by drawing out our air defenses. I think we did not fall into their trap, and we did very well by using our integrated counter air defense systems and counter US systems, which was put into place, instituted by our startups and innovators and our industry through IDEX and various other initiatives were taken by the Defense Forces and Defense Innovation Organization. So I think a major face-saving or major credit of our success goes to innovative initiatives taken by the Government of India and the Defense Forces in creating a robust air defense system. Now, shooting down of Pakistan, fighters, I think is just a part of Air Force practices that they do not let any adversary to come close to our borders. And when you are doing this and somebody tries to do it, Air Force does not want to disclose these, so I would not like to discuss more in detail, because you must understand, it is only the request by the DGMO to DGMO. And Pakistan has still not given up its nefarious activities along the border. So I will not go into the operational details, but I can tell you that Indian Armed Forces have done well by not getting saturated with the swarm tactics of the Pakistan Armed Forces. They use drones, swarms, missiles, loitering drones. And here I also would like to bring out that Turkey has been a big supporter of Pakistan. In fact, it has gone out of the way to provide some of the drones, like some of the loitering munitions and quadcopters, armed quadcopters. Pakistan has tried to do a draw and probe tactics, where they have sent some drones to check out our air defense forces, air defense setup, and I think we have done well. What we need to do currently is we need to reassess our situation, refill our inventories, and be prepared for any contingencies. It's not a time to rest. We need to ensure that our air defense capability is refurbished, and wherever requirements are there, we fill up. And similarly, our strike capability. A lot of our indigenous companies have developed a lot of, strike capable unmanned systems. So I think it's time for us to be prepared and wait till, this situation is fully under control.
Absolutely. And I think the message was also clear from DGMO, Mr. Rajiv Ghai, Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai, is that, if they attempt anything again, then the response is going to be fierce and punitive. And I think we've already demonstrated that whatever happened in bringing about these ceasefire, of course, no official details are going to be made public, but certainly India had the upper hand when asked, because statements of this kind are being made in Pakistan that they have won. When asked whether they would categorize as India having won, our generals only said that, see, our objectives were met, justice has been served. Lieutenant General Rajendra Singh, I'm coming to you as well. Very important targets that the Indian military identified and has sent an extremely important message to Pakistan. Do you think this is what made Pakistan and the Americans nervous? The fact that we could get to Sargodha without any problems from the air defense system in Pakistan, the fact that we could attack Noor Khan Air Base, do you think that is what alarmed everybody?
Yes, you are very, very right. Firstly, I would like to mention that in this press conference, the DGMOs of all three services, they have very clearly brought out as to what all operations we had undertaken. And the gist of the whole thing is that we had initially gone in for striking the terrorist camps with 100% success, with over 100 casualties of terrorists. And each target, each terrorist camp was destroyed fully and completely. The second thing which has happened is that we were able to, our air defense system was able to halt their onslaught which they were trying to put with the swamp of UAVs and drones. I think we were able to do a damn good job on all three nights that has taken place. The third thing and most important is that we were able to, our Air Force was able to strike, our Air Force and some of the assets from our ground forces were able to strike deep into the enemy territory, and we were able to target their forward air bases. We were able to target even their air bases behind. And also air bases like Sargodha, and like you have mentioned very correctly, this raised alarm as far as Pakistan is concerned. As regards Pakistan putting this narrative that they have won and all, it is absolute bullshit. It is quite clear that Indian armed forces were able to go in whenever they wanted to, strike wherever they wanted to, and prevent the onslaught of their strikes by their missiles as also by their drones at will. There has been hardly any damage that they have been able to inflict on any of our air bases or military installations. They have also made it very clear that there is going to be no further permissions required. The local commanders, the army commanders have been authorized to respond the moment Pakistan tries anything tonight. And I think there cannot be a better kind of orders which can be, or better orders which can be given to the forces down below. The similar orders, I'm sure, must have been passed to the Air Force.
All right. So hold your thought. I want to quickly bring in the first comments from our other two guests as well. Rajiv Dogra, do you think this press conference was indeed necessitated because of the extremely amplified misinformation, disinformation campaign from Pakistan? Generally our military system is very hesitant to put out details or really tom-tom anything. But do you think this was necessitated because we live in that information age where this is also the front we have to man very importantly?
Yes, you're right. There's no question about it that there should be, when necessary, briefings by senior Army, Navy and Air Force officers. And it was done in that spirit and it was done very competently. So well done, and compliments to all the three senior officers. So was the case when Foreign Secretary led the two young ladies in daily briefings. But naturally, that emphasis was different and that was more general in nature. This press conference today was specific it was targeted at taking care of the propaganda, as you mentioned, which is Pakistan is an overdrive. So it was done very professionally, without boasting or chest thumping. They stuck to facts, and they also conveyed a message that, you know, things are under control and India is prepared to face any escalation, but would rather that there be ceasefire holds and holds for a long time for the sake of people of the two countries.
Right.
So it was done very well. And I think Pakistan, as the officers themselves say, Pakistan may not change its colors, but at least would have been cautioned by the force of the presentation today.
Yeah. I'll come to the issue of the other countries that are getting involved in this in just a bit, sir. Tilak Devashare, what stood out for you as far as this press conference is concerned?
You know, I think what stood out most for me was that demolishing Pakistan's fake narratives.
Yeah.
See, Pakistan is excellent in saying nothing happened. Nur Khan base was not attacked. Rahim Yar Khan was not attacked. In the press conference, the three DGMOs were able to give satellite image and proof with photographs of the kind of destruction and havoc that the Indian Air Force has wreaked on Pakistan. So Pakistan now cannot back out of this, and the international community will have to recognize the strength, the accuracy, and the acumen of the Indian Air Force of what they have managed to achieve in terms of destroying Pakistan's air defense and hitting at targets deep inside Pakistan. So for me, that was the biggest achievement of this press conference. Of course, it was done extremely professionally, very competently, without any histrionics, but with facts and figures. So I think that stood out for me the most, and obviously very well done. Now, you know, the point is that the devastation has been so enormous that for the last 3 days, because I think Pakistani fake handles and media influencers were so active, and all kinds of fake narratives were being spread. And I think a lot of in India, people were getting demoralized that how many aircraft have we lost, how many cities have been hurt, how many, you know, all those kinds of things. But this demolishes so much that not only were the 9 terror training camps, the names of the leaders who were terrorists who were killed, the camps that were destroyed, the airfields.
Yeah, the airfields name have been crystallized now. Crystallized, basically.
And pinpointed.
And pinpointed.
Yeah. And as the Air Marshal said, very fair, you know, very, very pertinent comment, that it's not for us to count their dead. They do it themselves. We are just going to strike at them. And secondly, what I found was that the instructions given by the army chief to the army commanders, and I'm sure from the army commanders, they'll go down to the co-commanders and div commanders, that any violation by Pakistan must be responded to severely.
Absolutely.
That, I think, is a very important message.
Absolutely. So let's look forward, but also back. Because the last 24 hours, Tilak Devashare, I'll give you the first opportunity before I go across the panel, again, have been quite amusing, if I can use that word. But certain red lines have also been crossed in certain statements that have been made. But I'll just put this question to you. What do you think spooked the Americans out of what transpired on the intervening night of May 9th and 10th?
You see, I can't say with surety because we don't have official confirmation of this. But what social media reports seem to indicate that the United States got spooked because of the possibility that the Indian Air Force may have struck a nuclear site. And there is a US aircraft which checks on radiation, which checks on nuclear accidents. That may have possibly spooked the Americans. And that's when they would have, you see, because 24 hours ago, they said, this is not our fault, this is not our war. We're not getting concerned. And suddenly they do a 180-degree turnaround, and President Trump claims that full and immediate ceasefire has been agreed to and all that. The only thing that could have spooked the Americans is if there was a radioactive activity. The Indian strikes were so successful that either the Nuclear Command Authority was very nearly hit in the Nur Khan base, or in Sargodha, some of the ammunition, which is stored, nuclear ammunition, has been hit. So I think that's what spooked the Americans.
Okay, Rajiv Dogra, can I bring in you again on the statements that Trump has made? How do India deal with this?
Well, if you're referring to the Kashmir issue,
yeah,
I think Indian statement response has been quick and firm that Kashmir is not for a third party to intervene in. We have been traditionally very clear that Kashmir issue is a bilateral matter. Similar agreement made that absolutely crystal clear. And the only issue that remains is to get back the territory occupied by Pakistan.
Yes.
So that is clear. And I think Prime Minister's, I'm just guessing, Prime Minister's conversation with Vice President Vance today may also have included this caution from Prime Minister's side that, Kashmir should be kept out of the picture. And what should be concentrated upon, in addition to what Tilak has said just now, what should be concentrated upon is the nervous fingers of the army generals in Pakistan.
Yes.
Because social media reports have also mentioned, they may not be correct, that there was a fear that they were itching to move their fingers towards a nuclear item.
Can I just come in? I'll just add to the point you're making, because if you look at the social media message by Donald Trump, he also says millions of lives could have been lost.
That's why I was hinting at that.
Yeah.
And you're very quick to take that up. Now, nuclear option, this is not the first time that Pakistan is talking about it. Their defense minister has spoken twice. And for a defense minister to speak of such an issue in such a casual manner is really amazing. First, he said that Indians would not know what hit them. Second time, and this was, I think, just about 4 or 5 days back, he said the world would suffer if nuclear option is used by us.
Yes.
So, earlier, the civilian leaders were cautious. But I am amazed that this time they've become as brazen, as blatant, and as boastful as their army leaders.
Okay.
So that is the thing which may have triggered the American
intervention.
Action.
Absolutely. Can I also go across to Group Captain R.K. Narang? I know that you're not going to say much on this, and I know none of our military personnel will say much on this, but do you think there was indeed a message from the Indian precise strikes on the nuclear front?
No, I think this subject I would not be, commenting on. But I think I'll take, I'll tell you another aspect related to nuclear front. Till this action took place, air power was considered escalatory. And we thought if we use air power, we will, immediately nuclear would come into play. In this case, even below the threshold of conventional war, we have realized that air power can do its job, provided we use it wisely, provided we use it precisely, and more importantly, we convey our intent very, very clearly. Mark, I want to, just remember the first press conference or the first press release of the MOD. It clearly said we have destroyed targets and we don't want to escalate. So the responsibility was immediately transferred to the Pakistan. And I think that deprived Pakistan of the, mischiefs they used to play. And what is more important is the first press release came exactly when the targets were hit. There was no delay, unlike in the past. So I think a lot of, time when Pakistan took delays in our communication to confuse the world. And I think one place where Pakistan played was they invited the foreign journalists and tried to convey their perception till we have come up with. So I think we must be very careful where do they play this nuclear card, or where do they play they try to take advantage of the gap in communication with the world community. I think we have to be very conscious.
Okay. Very quickly, Lieutenant General Rajendra Singh, the big question that even the generals were asked repeatedly was, do they expect the ceasefire to hold even till 12 noon tomorrow? What do you think? Do you think Pakistan will at least keep their word for another night?
Let's see. But our experience says that the chances of this ceasefire holding are not really very high.
Yeah.
But in any case, considering the fact that the kind of response we gave yesterday night, as also we are ready to do tonight, I think should be a lesson enough for Pakistan not to try anything funny again. Okay. Let me say one or two things about as to why the ceasefire violations took place, or this cessation of military operations or military actions, as the DGMO had put it. I think the reason for this was a lot of our experts are saying that China seems to be involved in this. China actually felt as to why a credit for a ceasefire must go only to the United States. And that is why their foreign minister had got in touch with the prime minister and has asked him as to why such kind of statements are being made. A similar thing was also done in their communication with the army chief. And all this was basically because China's interest was to keep the Indo-Pak border volatile, because it suited them that if the border remains volatile, the chances of a lot of industries moving out from China to other countries, including India, would be much more diminished.
But you're also suggesting that this was also because they didn't want US to get the credit, because Trump had already announced that he brokered
that was the first thing which that is the first thing which I said. After that, there were a lot of back channel talks which took place. Our NSA also spoke to the NSA of China, and I think US brought down a lot more pressure onto Pakistan, and these violations of ceasefire stopped at about midnight.
Yes.
The point which I want to make is, as far as United States saying, or particularly Trump saying that I'm ready to mediate, it is not the first time he's doing it. He did it when he was the president during his first term also, and he was told at that time also that we do not need your assistance as far as mediation between India and China is India and Pakistan is concerned on the issue of Kashmir. Only thing which I wish to mention is our troops are ready, our aircrafts are ready, our ships are ready, our navy is ready, air force is ready, and army is ready. Let these chaps try anything. They are already, their army, their services are already demoralized. And if they try anything funny, the kind of response they will get, they will remember for the rest of their life.
Absolutely. I think that's a good note to take a break on. I do thank all the gentlemen for their time, and some of them will continue to be with us. But I have to slip into a very short break. We'll get you more updates and the highlights of that very important press conference after just a bit.
जब जियो होम पे
To start with, our fight was neither with the Pakistani military nor with anybody else who's there on the other side. Our fight was with the terrorists. We neutralized the terrorists that we selected to be neutralized, and thereafter we only maintained the air defense posture. However, we were relentlessly pounded by waves after waves, night after night, by his UCAVs, by his drones, and by his other unmanned aerial systems. And that left us with no choice but to retaliate, and yet our retaliation was calibrated, it was graduated, and it was proportionate. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the aftermath of the cowardly attacks on innocent tourists at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani-sponsored terrorists on 22nd April, the Indian Navy's carrier battle group, surface forces, submarines, and aviation assets were immediately deployed at sea with full combat readiness in concert with the joint operation plan of the Indian Defence Forces. You may be aware that we tested and refined tactics and procedures at sea during multiple weapon firings in the Arabian Sea within 96 hours of the terrorist attack.
All right, what happens from here on is also important. Remember, our DGMO Rajiv Ghai, Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai also came out and gave all the details about how Pakistan wanted cessation of firing from the Indian side. He says it is on May 10th that they received a message from the Pakistani counterpart, and eventually after internal deliberations, they decided to speak. They eventually spoke at 15:35 hours on May 10. And it was decided that there will be cessation of firing from 1700 hours on May 10. But as the DGMO said, expectedly, not surprisingly, but unfortunately, Pakistan broke that cessation within a few hours. It was Pakistan that proposed that there should be ceasing of hostility and that they will discuss more tomorrow now, Monday, in the afternoon. But Pakistan broke that ceasefire already in the evening. We've just discussed what could be the possible reasons. This could be China wanting to show America in bad light because they try to take credit of the cessation of firing, or even wanting to keep the India-Pakistan border hot to dissuade investments in India. There could be multiple plays within plays. But the important message from that press conference also was that if there are any more violations, the Chief of Army Staff has given the commanders full authority to respond, and the response is going to be fierce and punitive is the word used. The Army has also accepted that apart from civilian loss of life, which is about 16 to 18 civilians, there are 5 casualties on the Indian Army side as well, as far as the last 3 days are concerned, because Pakistan tried to overwhelm the Indian defense systems for 3 nights straight. Although they didn't manage much on-ground damage, there have been 5 casualties on the Indian Army side. Tilak Devasher and Group Captain R.K. Narang continue to be with us. How does India, maneuver what has happened as far as the involvement of America, maybe China behind the scenes is concerned? What do you see going forward could be India's best moves?
To me?
Yes, sir.
So, if you recall when Trump 1.0, when Prime Minister Modi had visited him in the joint press conference, President Trump had offered to mediate in Kashmir. And I still remember Prime Minister Modi's very apt reply. He said both India and Pakistan are mature countries. We can tackle our problems ourselves, and we would not like to bother our friends to mediate in an issue like this.
Yes.
Which is a very diplomatic response that he gave. So I think going ahead, India is going to stick to that it's a bilateral issue. The only issue left is the handover of POK back to India. There's nothing else to talk about. So we are going to be very clear that no third-party mediation is going to be allowed. So I think that's one point that is going to be emphasized both privately. Especially, it's going to be emphasized privately. And China, I don't think so. China really has a role, though China is desperately trying to carve out a role for itself. I don't think so anybody is going to allow China any space in what is essentially a bilateral matter between India and Pakistan.
But do you feel there's been some complaints on the Indian side? Do you feel that at some level the narrative got out of our hand?
I think the US got extremely worried and spooked, as I mentioned, in 24 hours, because their initial statement was, this is not our war, this is not, we are not concerned with it. And then suddenly, they say they mediated a ceasefire. So obviously they got spooked. And I think the only thing that President Trump talking about billions of casualties could only mean one thing, that they suspected that there has been some radioactivity or something which has happened in this ammunition or in the storage system as a result of Indian Air Force action. And therefore they got worried and they said, look, telling both sides to back off and go into some sort of a cessation of hostilities. Now, what those modalities of that will be, we'll probably come to know tomorrow after the DGMO's talk at 12 noon.
Okay. No, so let me rephrase my question. I'll take that to Group Captain R.K. Narang also. There's been a feeling that India has been forced into this ceasefire of sorts when it had the upper hand. So it's kind of asked India to scale back when it was not really in our interest. We were pummeling Pakistan. Even on the other aspect where, who has got involved and all, they've tried to take the narrative away from us or the wins away from us. This press conference will go a long way in setting that narrative back straight. But, what Pakistan says, what US is equating of Pakistan and India also has been a little disappointing for the Indian audiences. And the focus has not been so much of what Pakistan foments in terms of terror. The focus has become the Kashmir issue, which is not what India wants at all. So, Tilak Devashay, do you feel on those fronts we need to kind of bring the narrative back into our advantage?
No, I think as it was made out of the press conference, what was our objective when we went in on 7th? Our objective was to degrade the terror infrastructure of Pakistan, which we did very successfully. Thereafter, for the next 3 days, we were not the aggressors. We had given Pakistan an off-ramp. They could have taken it, but they didn't. They reacted. They came in with drone strikes and all that. And every time we responded to that. So ours was not an objective more than targeting and degrading the terror camps. So, the people who feel in India that why did we stop when we were hitting Pakistan so badly, have to realize, have to be told and have to understand that that was not the objective. Okay. Our objective, people say, we could have taken POK, we could have done this, we could have done that. But that was not the limited objective that Government of India started with. You were faced with a terrific tragedy in Pahalgam. There was anger in India, and you wanted to hit at the terrorists who had carried that out. And as the DGMO said in the press conference, the war was with the terrorists.
Sure.
The war was not with the Pakistan state. So I think the feeling of rejection or that India was stopped at the time when we were hitting Pakistan or the narrative was taken out of our hands, I don't think so that is true. And I think through the media and also as what this press conference that was held today, this impression will be dispelled. And people would realize that our objective has been achieved 110%.
Okay. Group Captain R.K. Narang, you want to weigh in on this as well?
See, I would like to tell you that Pakistan used 5 low-cost options. One was artillery, missiles, drones, terrorists, and propaganda. So all other, and conventional war, they had lost badly, and they knew they couldn't fight. Whenever they struck us and when Air Force responded, in fact, every time Air Force category or Armed Forces category said that we are exercising our right to respond, we are not going to escalate. Every statement issued by MOD has said that. So once our targets or our goals were clear, we never wanted to escalate. So I think there's a misunderstanding on that part. Second part, I think what here I would like to highlight that this, whatever conflict you call it, gave us best opportunity for us to test our indigenous systems. You must understand some of our systems prove their mettle in this work. And mark my words, what would be watching a lot of people who is to cast doubt on our indigenous systems. I'm sure they are going to be a backbone of our future endeavors. And it's also lessons for us how to further improve. Real-time war experience is much better than what you do in ideal conditions. So I think our industry, a lot of people used to raise doubts. And you must not forget that some of our manned or manned platforms, which were behind the scene, were playing a major role.
Yes, yes.
Our aircraft, our indigenous helicopters, fighters, they were doing a very important job, which probably may not come into open, but you must understand they were the backbone on which we were confident that we can take them on. And this testing, validation, and improvement, I'm sure it will help our defense industry to grow, make a foothold in the global market. Remember, Turkey also came when its weapons were tested in the war. And I foresee there'll be greater acceptance of Indians' defense products, for which India has been making a lot of efforts in the last 10 years.
Absolutely. Make in Bharat is going to be something that a lot of people, buyers now will be seeking, I think. Many countries could be interested in getting these platforms from us, especially the Akash Tir and others that have been credited with this superb defense system in the air that positively surprised many in India as well. I'll just leave it at that. I do thank all our experts for joining us. Time for a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you more from this very important press conference.
Mahi sir.
To start with, our fight was neither with the Pakistani military nor with anybody else who's there on the other side. Our fight was with the terrorists. We neutralized the terrorists that we selected to be neutralized, and thereafter we only maintained the air defense posture. However, we were relentlessly pounded by waves after waves, night after night, by his UCAVs, by his drones, and by his other unmanned aerial systems. And that left us with no choice but to retaliate, and yet our retaliation was calibrated, it was graduated, and it was proportionate. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the aftermath of the cowardly attacks on innocent tourists at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani-sponsored terrorists on 22nd April.
What is happening right now between India and Pakistan? It's a strategic pause. It's different than what a lot of media may be trying to project to you. It's not a peace agreement, it is just a strategic flexibility, especially on India's part, to decipher how Pakistan is going to react. And Pakistan initiated this truce. Let no one fool you. India had the upper hand, both as far as the narrative and the negotiation is concerned. India's defense might clearly has been presented to be far, far more superior, both on ground and in the sky. Superior munitions, pummeling Pakistan defense infra. It is a clear message to Pakistan against any future misadventures. Remember, the most important tool that India had was the Indus Water Treaty. That standoff is not going anywhere else. Treaty is still going to be in abeyance. Nobody's really even talking about it. Nobody's trying to put any pressure on India, publicly at least, to rethink this. It allows India to maintain pressure on Pak when it comes to water. And it's that 360-degree approach that is really what India is going for. Pakistan's economic stress, which is already quite a bit, is going to be furthered, not just with the water technique, but also, of course, with other pressures that India is putting. Some speculation is there that Pakistan was threatened to de-escalate because its bailout from the IMF, which was approved only a few hours before it sent another drone swarm against India, including the Fateh 2 missile, was put as a condition. It was threatened that that bailout will not materialize if it does not stand down. Pak insiders are also confessing that their military is much thinner than India. Already their air defense systems or their strategic strike weaponry has come under question. Now, cross-border terror is the fundamental issue here, and India continues to keep its uncompromising stance on that. Any acts of terror in the future will be considered an act of war. No more warnings that will be given to Pakistan. now between India and Pakistan. It's a strategic pause. It's different than what a lot of media may be trying to project to you. It's not a peace agreement. It is just a strategic flexibility, especially on India's part, to decipher how Pakistan is going to react. And Pakistan initiated this truce. Let no one fool you. India had the upper hand, both as far as the narrative and the negotiation is concerned. India's defense might clearly has been presented to be far, far more superior, both on ground and in the sky. Superior munitions, pummeling Pakistan defense infra. It is a clear message to Pakistan against any future misadventures. Remember,
Mahi sir.
To start with, our fight was neither with the Pakistani military nor with anybody else who's there on the other side. Our fight was with the terrorists. We neutralized the terrorists that we selected to be neutralized, and thereafter we only maintained the air defense posture. However, we were relentlessly pounded by waves after waves, night after night, by his UCAVs, by his drones, and by his other unmanned aerial systems. And that left us with no choice but to retaliate, and yet our retaliation was calibrated, it was graduated, and it was proportionate. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the aftermath of the cowardly attacks on innocent tourists at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani-sponsored terrorists on 22nd April, the Indian Navy's carrier battle group, surface forces, submarines, and aviation assets were immediately deployed at sea with full combat readiness in concert with the joint operation plan of the Indian Defence Force.
We knew that the time had arrived to make yet another compelling statement of our resolve as a nation. Operation Sindoor was conceptualized with a clear military aim to punish the perpetrators and planners of terror and to destroy their terror infrastructure. Nefarious places such as Muridke, the hub center of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, has over the years bred infamous characters such as Ajmal Kasab and the likes of David Headley. What followed was a careful scrutiny of each of these sinister locations, their layout, configuration, even the type of construction in each structure, and the terrain obtained around these. Those strikes across those 9 terror hubs left more than 100 terrorists killed, including high-value targets such as Yusuf Azhar, Abdul Malik Rauf, and Mudassir Ahmed that were involved in the hijack of IC-814 and the Pulwama blast. Some of the airfields and dumps saw repeated attacks in waves from the air. All were thwarted. The Pakistan Army has reported to have lost approximately 35 to 40 personnel in artillery and small arms firing on the line of control between the 7th and the 10th of May. What the other side had probably also not reckoned with was the speedy and precise turnaround and hit back by the Indian Air Force. The Pakistan Army has reported to have lost approximately 35 to 40 personnel in artillery and small arms firing on the line of control between the 7th and the 10th of May. What the other side had probably also not reckoned with was the speedy and precise turnaround and hit back by the Indian Air Force. My communication with the Pak DGMO was conducted at 15:35 hours yesterday and resulted in cessation of cross-border firing and air intrusions by either side with effect from 1700 hours 10th of May, after he proposed that we cease hostilities.
A decision was taken to strike where it would hurt. And towards that, in a swift, coordinated, calibrated attack, we struck his air bases, command centers, military infrastructure, air defense systems across the entire Western Front. The bases we struck include Chaklala, Rafiki, and mind you, Chaklala is Islamabad, Rahim Yar Khan, Sakar, sending a clear message that aggression will not be tolerated. This was followed by strikes at Sargoda, Bholari, Jacobabad.
Sir, let me ask you, did we or did we not use the BrahMos missile in Operation Sindoor?
Yeah. You see, it's difficult to confirm by me, but the TV channels, news media, they all have reported that BrahMos has been successfully used against Pakistani ground assets. And if our Air Force has used it, I am very proud of it. And I feel that I have repaid my duties to India.
Just tell us about the BrahMos now, whether or not it's happened or not, we'll wait for an official confirmation. But the Pak Foreign Ministry said that BrahMos missiles was used, cruise missiles was used. But the Pakistanis also used the Fateh 2. So let's try and understand, compare, contrast the Fateh 2 and BrahMos. How did BrahMos happen and what are the capabilities of the BrahMos?
You see, BrahMos is a cruise missile and its range varies from 300 to 800 kilometers. We have different applications of different versions of the BrahMos. We have land-to-land version, we have land-to-ship, we have ship-to-ship, ship-to-land, and we can launch BrahMos from Sukhoi 30 aircraft also against land targets and sea targets. What Pakistani have used is a strategic missile. It is a ballistic missile having a conventional payload. And it is reported that it was headed towards Delhi. And our air defense system has proved that they can deny any air attack to our adversaries.
We'll get to the gradients of the air defense system because many have been taken by surprise of that, because of that in a bit. But let's talk about BrahMos, the payload that it has as a cruise missile. Are there various gradients and how did the whole process of developing the BrahMos happen, or is this the first time that it's also been pressed into service if it has been used?
First, I would like to tell you that we have conducted more than 130 tests of BrahMos in various configurations. It includes development test as well as the flight test for users validation. Apart from this, BrahMos is a cruise missile. Cruise missile means it can take a trajectory like an aircraft. It can go for low-high trajectory, it can go for low trajectory, it can go for low trajectory. And being a cruise missile, it can fly over the surface of water about at the altitude of about 5 to 10 meters.
10 meters. So then it's very difficult to be detected by radar.
Yes, it's very difficult for any ship-based radar to detect it. In fact, what happens, because of the curvature of the Earth, enemy ships can see the BrahMos only about 2 to 3 kilometers away. It gives them about 12 to 15 seconds to react.
Network 18 decimates Times Internet with over 6 times more unique users on social media. Network 18, the undisputed leader of news networks. Way ahead.
To start with, our fight was neither with the Pakistani military nor with anybody else who's there on the other side. Our fight was with the terrorists. We neutralized the terrorists that we selected to be neutralized, and thereafter, we only maintained the air defense posture. However, we were relentlessly pounded by waves after waves, night after night, by his UCAVs, by his drones, and by his other unmanned aerial systems. And that left us with no choice but to retaliate, and yet our retaliation was calibrated, it was graduated, and it was proportionate. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the aftermath of the cowardly attacks on innocent tourists at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani-sponsored terrorists on 22nd April, the Indian Navy's carrier battle group, surface forces, submarines, and aviation assets were immediately deployed at sea with full combat readiness in concert with the joint operation plan of the Indian Defence Forces. You may be aware that we tested and refined tactics and procedures at sea during multiple weapon firings in the Arabian Sea within 96 hours of the terrorist attack. The aim was to revalidate our crew, armament, equipment, and platform readiness to deliver various ordnance on selected targets precisely. Thereafter, our forces remained forward deployed in the Northern Arabian Sea in a decisive and deterrent posture with full readiness and capacity to strike select targets at sea and on land, including Karachi at time of our choosing. The forward deployment of the Indian Navy compelled
Thanks a lot for staying with CNN News 18. I'm Shivani Gupta. In the last 4 days, India's Operation Sindoor has caused massive damage in Pakistan. The operation, which began on May 7, started with India targeting 9 terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. This followed retaliatory action by Pakistan. The rogue state targeted not just innocent civilians across the border, but also Indian military installations. Although there is a ceasefire as we currently speak, Pakistan has been violating it from time to time. India has given a befitting reply by targeting several air bases and military installations in Pakistan, which made desperate attempts to hit military infrastructure and civilian areas on our side of the borders. Now, the DGMOs today detailed India's victory. They've talked about how they have managed to inflict a lot of damage on the Pakistani side. Let me, in fact, take you through some of the key highlights from that press conference. So what has Operation Sindoor achieved so far? Here are the big takeaways. Over 35 Pakistani army personnel believed to be killed. 9 terror camps have been destroyed in this strike, which was the original Operation Sindoor. In those strikes, 100+ terrorists were killed, and of course the countdown, the number and the counting is still on. IC-814 hijackers and Pulwama plotters were part of those terrorist high-value targets that were neutralized. That detail also we've brought to you earlier. 10 Pakistan military sites have been hit. That's the big confirmation that came in from the DGMO press conference. We have also downed several Pakistani jets, is what the DGMOs have confirmed. Forces were ready to target even Karachi. There were offensive positions taken in the sea. India has avoided collateral damage at all costs. But if Pakistan continues to strike, India will hit back harder. Pakistan, in fact, was the one that pleaded India for the ceasefire on the intervening night of May 9th and 10th. Let's go across to our guest joining us, Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, former DG Infantry Indian Army, Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, former GOC 15 Corps of the Indian Army, Group Captain M.J. Vinod, former fighter pilot, Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow ORF, all with us. I do thank you for your time. Group Captain Vinod, I'm coming to you first up. How happy were you to hear about the fact that we have in fact managed to down several Pakistani jets? No more information or confirmation, but this was, at least this much was confirmed.
Yeah, another thing that was confirmed was one high-tech aeroplane was brought down. Couple of high-tech aeroplanes
Yeah.
brought down. Only a couple of high-tech airplanes that are in the arsenal of Pakistan is the F-16. And to what extent are we going to reveal, and how many drones and where are those pilots, and remains to be seen. But at least this is confirmed that those are F-16s, because the highest tech that they have currently is F-16 and not J-10s or JF-17s. Those are slightly older generation, though the aeroplane per se, F-16 aeroplane per se is the shell per se is older, but what is inside is Block 50 and beyond is much newer. So that is what he, I think, meant by high tech. But the question is, Shivani, is look at how India responded with the facts, figures, and in Hindi में कहते हैं ना कि प्रत्यक्ष को प्रमाण क्या. That is what I put behind me. So as opposed to putting two flags and coming up in front of your nation and saying we won the war, which Shahbaz Sharif did. I mean, I totally echo what the foreign secretary said. The country was formed on the basis of lies, and I think every step of the way, these, for want of a better word, I'm saying idiots keep lying time and time again. Is something sometimes is really sickening. Why being professionals? I mean, forget Shahbaz Sharif. He's a politician. He will come and say what he has to say.
All right, looks like we lost that link. But
No, Shahbaz Sharif.
okay, go ahead. Yes, we have you back.
Yeah, that was really bad. But what really gave me goosebumps was what I got behind me. That is hitting at the heart of the Air Force of the Central Air Force of Pakistan, which is Sargodha. The Sargodha, if you see on this side, the center of the runway, it has two cross runways. It's the center of the runway, and down the road, two hits kept Sargodha down for. We estimated 3 hours. They were down for more than 24 hours. No aeroplane took off and landed from Sargodha. Near Sargodha is the nuclear facility. We have hit that also. So that, I think, really rattled them, and they came on the discussion floor and asking for ceasefire. But after ceasefire also, they did some firing, which I think put both J.D. Vance and Donald Trump in bad light. I'm sure they must have taken notice of it. And I think, Shivani, mark my words, you can hold me to it. I think Munir's days are numbered. He has to go, and he will be gone.
Yeah, well, if the Americans don't even insist on that much, then I think they're failing as far as getting Pakistan to account is concerned, because they certainly want to do something about Pakistan. I am not so sure how much they're going to be liked on the Indian side for equating Pakistan and India as if they're exactly the two similar countries, just happen to be neighbors, etc. But I'll come to all of that in just a bit. Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, the precision with which the Indian Air Force, the entire military has hit these Pakistani air bases. One, the expertise that goes behind it, precise buildings have been chosen, knowing what they would have inside, etc. But also the larger message that the Pakistani military, Asim Munir, for example, would have got, the message that even America would have got from these precision strikes.
So, one thing I've been saying for last 3-4 days, I'll just repeat it. You see, numbers don't matter. How many we downed, how many we killed, because time and again, the people are going to ask for those proofs which are required to be sent. What the proof to the world goes out and to the Pakistanis is, we will hit at will. Just mark these 4 words. This is a message which has been sent by Bharat to not only to Pakistan, to entire world, that when we decide, it's a professional organization, we don't want to kill numbers, but we want to tell you, we got capacities, capabilities, don't push us.
Yes.
When you push to war, then possibly your devastation is going to be there. Be careful. And that has come out, and I'm so glad that today the DGMO briefing came about, and the way they have presented the facts, and they hung on to one point, and which on your channel for last about 4 days, while everybody wanted other answers, I kept on saying that I, as a military commander, I'm looking at my political master. What is the orders I'm getting? The order he is giving in public space that the people who were behind as for inflicting this punishment to us in Pahalgam will be taken down to dust. So on that night of 6th, 7th, that mission was accomplished, and thereafter the justice was served. Well, justice will require to be served as per number of theorists who sit in the AC rooms and all, that we want Pakistan to be dismembered, they say, it just can't happen in, you're talking of a state, you're talking of a professional organization, you are looking at a system which is in place. If you want to dismember a country, it will require huge, effort, and it takes time and planning. But in this instant case, the direction had come to punish. We have punished. The DGMO dials up the DGMO of Pakistan and says, thank you so much. We needed to punish our guys. We have hit the headquarters. We have taken out X number of people. And let's rest this case. Be good people, good neighbors. While you can't be, but yet let's try to be sane. And let's not push the envelope. But he said very clearly, and this, I think, very interesting that he resonated with what I said earlier on the channel. Pak Punjabi is an instinctive guy. He's got a huge ego, right? He may continue to get slapped around, but he will come back and again hit you and embarrass himself and embarrass his masters who are sitting possibly in deep state in the West. But the bottom line is that they came back again, and you see everybody in the media was jumping over it. But the Indian armed forces kept their cool. They did the calibrated actions which was required, where to hit. Those plans, remember, they are not produced in last 5, 6 days, 10 days. They have been prepared over a period of time. They have been set in motion, not today. Everybody knows, Jan Shankar Prasad is here, will know that these are detailed plans which are kept in a locker and updated time. It's a professional army. We're not a radical army, right? As a professional thing, we're preparing for all contingencies, and our contingencies start by one civilian killed in our part, one round which comes from the cross, one drone which flies. So we don't want to jump from 0 to a war. So you got tools for the escalatory ladder which are under your control, and that kept on
no, but did we climb too many steps on that escalatory ladder to get Americans spooked?
No, we did. What has happened is that once the air defense is breached, air defense is one thing which is like an iron curtain, which allows a nation to be protected. Once their this thing is breached, their aircrafts are not allowed to fly, then they are naked. Then they cannot move even one tank. In today's warfare, air domination, air superiority, control of air is very important.
Yes.
So they knew that the moment they take off from these aircrafts, these airfields, somebody is going to come and hit them, and they cannot be protected because the systems are compromised. Either it's by quality or by what we did the punishment to them.
Right.
So when you combine all these things, there were the warning bells for them, right, which went across. And then, of course, there are unknown quantities, which I don't want to talk about, that possibly something else was hit. And therefore, there were rings, the bells were ringing. But again, a question which is being asked by me off the record on my handles, and people are asking me, is that why did we go for ceasefire? We have not gone for ceasefire, right?
Pakistanis asked for it.
Yeah, and mind you, again, we had said on the first night, we have done a job, thank you so much. Second day, again we said, now we have punished you with a great response. This is calibrated, don't come back. Third day we said again, now on the fourth day or third day, something happens, and they go running to their old deep state somewhere around, who certainly want to take claim. They may take claim, right? But eventually in the end, for what does it matter to Bharat, is the DGMO of Pakistan dials back and says, we want ceasefire, right? So I'm not looking at the back channel, what is happening. And this is what people need to concentrate, that they have come back whom they have gone running, whom they have begged, like they beg every time, but we don't care.
Okay.
They came down and said that we are not going to break. Let's maintain certain degree of harmony, and we'll come back on 12th and we'll talk about it.
All right. Chaklala, Rafiq, Raim Yar Khan, Sukhar, Sargoda, Jacobabad, Murid, Noor Khan, Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, you want to delve a little bit into the significance of these sites that India managed to penetrate, and here with precision, only a message was sent to Pakistan that, see, we see it all, we can hit it at will, as Mr. Pandey is saying, and don't come asking for more. The significance of these sites.
Yes, I will come to the significance in a moment, but let me just start by saying, after listening to the DGMO's briefing this evening, a couple of points get very clear. And the first point I want to make is, this Operation Sindoor is a classic example of comprehensive military force applied at Pakistan. When I say comprehensive, it means that all facets of an operation have been involved in this, whether it's the military, whether it's the intelligence, whether it's the foreign affairs, and many other issues. The question is, what did we achieve from the 22nd of April till the 7th of May? We have been able to position our assets the way we wanted them, and we've got outstanding appreciation done this time. If your appreciation goes right, your operation will go right. And the appreciation was that the ground action by Pakistan is unlikely, although we prepared for it, but the air action, that is drones and missiles and aircraft, is what we have to cater for. And there, accordingly, we placed our assets. The important part is that intelligence was obtained for each of these targets that you just narrated. And we knew exactly what's happening at each of these targets. Not only Bahawalpur or Muridke, but also the airfield you spoke about.
Yes.
Having got the exact details of what's happening at these airports through satellite imagery, through a variety of other intelligence sources, we have strategic partnership with a large number of leading powers in the world. And the intelligence sharing is an important ingredient of all of that. So with accurate intelligence, we had identified the airfields which are vital for our operations, or for our successful conduct of what we wanted to do. Each of these airfields we did not target in the first instance. We waited for them to take first night and second night and third night. The first night that they came, the second night they did, and the third night, when they started hitting our areas, we had already collected complete information of the so-called strategically important airfields of Pakistan. Bulk of the assets are positioned there. It is very simple to understand that if you can make an airfield unusable and cause damage to their runways, the aircrafts can take off. And if you can prevent an aircraft from taking off on a particular airfield, then you get air superiority. So these airfields across the line of control, starting from the north right down up to Nal in the south, we have been able to identify all of them, and each one of them was addressed. And they were addressed directly to the objective and back. Now the point is this. You heard in the previous presentation of your channel, we have today weapons. We don't have to cross the LC or the line of control in actual fact. The missiles pin and the quality of these missiles is, why am I not talking about the, it's the BrahMos missile, all right, and there's nothing very secret about it. Whether we used it or not, I don't know, as the previous speaker said. But the point is simple. BrahMos missile has a range of 300 to 600 kilometers. It can identify a target, and its accuracy is within 5 meters. So once you get accurate intelligence and accurate crosses of the target area, you can fire this missile from within Indian airspace to the target area with precision. And once these 9 or 10 airfields, strategic airfields that got damaged, they cannot get the aircrafts in sky.
Right.
So which means that the skies are ours. We don't want to cross. Even if we want to cross, we can cross easily. Even though the Lahore radar system has been damaged already and been made unusable. So the basic point that I want to make here, besides the specific questions that you asked, which I've answered, is this: that this particular operation, Sindoor, is an application of combined national power of the Army, Navy and the Air Force. And you heard in the press briefing the naval military operations talk about it. And you heard exactly what he said. And you know what has happened in between, not only the Navy, but the Army and the Air Force as well. For these 15 days, we have tested all our equipment serviceability, their efficiency. We've also tested the ammunition. We have tested the accuracy of the ammunition. As the naval officer was saying on the press conference, they fired a number of missiles and guns or whatever they wanted to do and get accuracy.
Yes.
So in these 15 days, each and every weapon that has been used in this war, whether the Army or the Air Force or the Navy, whether it's the air defense guns or whether it's the missiles or whatever else they've used, has been tested and fired before. They've tested earlier also, before acquisition and before in storage. But right now, before the operation began, in this 15 days period that we had, we have tested everything that we have used. And all the systems of defense that have been put across the line of control have also been tested.
Yes.
That they become impregnable. So we were quite aware. And that's a fantastic appreciation.
Absolutely,
that
absolutely. The Indian defense systems,
what all we expected Pakistan to do.
Both the defensive and the offensive systems have certainly lived up to their reputation. I want to bring in Sushant Sareen as well. Sushant Sareen, I believe it could be said, sir, I'm coming back to you. I believe what could be said, Sushant, is that the purpose of this press conference was to, kind of set the narrative right because of the propaganda and the misinformation being spread by Pakistan and, social media, etc. Do you think this press conference has absolutely hit bang on target, pardon the pun, on that front?
No, I agree with you. I think this press conference was much needed because of the kind of nonsensical propaganda that the Pakistanis are doing, and they were behaving like the typical tuchas that they are. And I think the way the Indian Armed Forces conducted this press conference, dignified, very firm, with some quotable quotes. So no complaints on that count. And in fact, in their own way, they were fairly candid, given the fact that this operation is, in a sense, over and in a sense not over. This was, and it was required because, look, it's important to, dispel that nonsensical Chinese and Pakistani propaganda that is spreading all over the place. And there are people of the Indian community outside India who are saying that, look, we are hearing all of this because the Chinese have been buying news space and they've been publishing stuff. Some of these third-rate organizations, you also have an arrangement with them, like CNN and others, their correspondents go to Pakistan and toe the Pakistani line without any evidence. So I can quote a source and make any story. So no credibility and, peddling all kinds of nonsense. So I think it was extremely important for the armed forces to come out and set the record straight. Having said that, I would also counsel, for whatever it's worth, my counsel is worth, that the government of India or the Ministry of External Affairs also needs to come out with a detailed press briefing or a presser detailing out what were the sequence of events on, whatever diplomatic confabulations that went behind the scenes. Because, Donald Trump and Twitter in his hand is a weapon of mass distraction. He doesn't carefully, understand the nuances and he'll just shoot off something. And I need to disabuse everybody in the international community that this kind of, or any kind of meddling in India's affairs or on our red lines is simply not acceptable.
Yeah.
They need to put in their place, especially the Americans when they try and act like busybodies, along with anybody else who tries and act like a busybody.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
So on the DGMO front, or how this ceasefire came about, we had Foreign Secretary last evening also say very categorically in very few words. The army generals have also clarified that Pakistani DGMO first, picked up the hotline, sent a message. We have reciprocated because we actually don't want to escalate. He was asked the question, why did we even go for that ceasefire? But I'll leave that for another occasion. On that front, I think the timeline has been set right. Now, nobody can deny that the Americans have also picked up the phone and called everybody on the Indian side, Pakistani side. The Chinese have spoken to our NSA, etc. But I want to ask you this. What do you think spooked America? Why did they suddenly get so alarmed that 24 hours after saying that, we don't have a horse in this race and this is not for us to tell what India and Pakistan should do, they'll sort out their own problems, suddenly they were talking about millions of deaths?
No, I think it was quite clear, the response from the Indian side, and this is something, was being made very clear to the Pakistanis. I don't think they got the memo, or they didn't understand the memo when it was given to them. They thought that, like it happened after Balakot, that there was an aerial exchange, and after that we did not escalate. They thought, okay, the Indians have hit, now we will go and strike them, and we'll be successful. That is what they assumed. And then, we will take the off-ramp, and having shown that we hit back. They didn't realize that the Indians this time around were ready to go up the escalation ladder, and we would escalate as much as they wanted to do. We will go back and hit them even harder.
What do you think precisely it was, Sushant, that really, really spooked them? Because
I think, no, I'll tell you, I'll just come to that. So I think, look at the sequence of events on the kinetic plane. We offered them an off-ramp on the very first day. They didn't take it. They came back the second day, they were beaten back, and we attacked them more. We heard their ego, like General Pandey very correctly said, these Punjabi Muslims, you have to keep slapping them to put them in line. So we slapped them the second day. Then they came back the third day. We slapped them again. But I think on the third day, if you look at the presser of Mr. Vikram Misri, he offered them an off-ramp that day. They didn't take it. They came back the third day even harder, and the response has then shaken them. Now, obviously, as my other colleagues on this panel are saying, the response was so fierce and so effective. Listen, Shivani, destroying something like a dozen air bases and putting their entire air operations out of function, number one. Number two, completely demolishing their entire air defense systems. Number three, all that bloody trash that they bought from these terrorist Turks, these Bayraktars and all the other shit that they bought, or the Chinese air defense mal, typical Chinese mal, turned out to be duds. Okay, maybe the generals out there took hefty commissions and bought villas in Istanbul or in Dubai or somewhere else, because that's what they always do, right? And they bought all this trash, and this trash has been shown up to be what it's worth. Okay, it's one thing that you use it in with non-professional armies and get away with it, but I think the Indian Armed Forces prepared for it. When they had a setback, they recalibrated themselves and came back and hit them hard. Now look at the bases which they hit. I think the attack on what is now being said are some of their nuclear command and control centers. I think that spooked them. And I think the Pakistanis realized that now they are, in a manner of speaking, defenseless. Their air force has been decimated in the sense they can't. Their nuclear command and control systems are being degraded. Number three, the fact that whatever they've thrown at us, and I'm sure some of it must have got through, and there's no reason for us to hide if anything got through and caused some minor damage somewhere. I don't see any reason. Maybe eventually that will also come out. But as the Air Marshal very correctly said, and I'm happy he said that you are into a conflict situation. If a loss happens, big deal. Okay. Losses, right?
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm glad that he wasn't pressed on that issue, because that's not really our focus right now.
The resoluteness that the armed forces showed and the government showed, that, okay, fine, we'll undertake a few losses, but we'll ready come back harder and hit the hell out of you. We'll beat the hell out of you, buggers.
Okay, but then that takes me to my next question, and I'll take that to Group Captain Vinod, because if I take that to Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, he'll be very upset with me. So I'll give Captain Vinod the opportunity. Then why did we go for this ceasefire?
Can I just
okay, Sushant wants to go in. Then Sushant wants to go in. Then Group Captain, you can come in. Yes.
I'm sorry, Group Captain Saab, but this is something I feel very strongly about, because a lot of people are raising this nonsensical issue. Why did we agree to a ceasefire? Number one, our objectives were very clear. I think General Pandey specified that earlier. Objectives were to take out the terror camps and show them we can hit you wherever we want to. There are no safe havens for you anymore. You try something funny with us, we'll come back and hit you. Second objective was that please don't wave this goddamn nuclear threat at us. We are not going to step off the escalation ladder. We will control the escalation dominance. I think we managed to establish that. Now, once your objectives are established and you've achieved your objectives, to continue with this fight endlessly and not accept a ceasefire when you are on the winning side is silly.
No, but why would it be endless? No, I'm sorry, let me press you on this. Sushant, why would it be endless if we are so superior and we had established our superiority? Just understand where I'm coming from. Just understand where I'm coming from. This is an issue we've been dealing with for 70 plus years. If you get a golden opportunity, why must you let go of that?
But there'll be other opportunities. But my point is, look at it. We are on the cusp of a manufacturing revolution in this country. We are attracting massive investments which are on the anvil. We are, a lot of foreign companies are wanting to come into India. Do we want to get embroiled in an unnecessary war at this point in time?
Okay, Sushant, let me open this up. Yes, Group Captain. Lieutenant General, I'm coming to you after this. Yes, Group Captain Vinod, I can't hear you very clearly. Go ahead.
तो गली के गुंडे के साथ आप उलझोगे, तो आप उसका कीचड़ ही आप ही के ऊपर आएगा.
नहीं तो सॉल्व भी तो करना पड़ेगा ना, कैप्टन, सॉल्व भी तो करना पड़ेगा या चलता रहेगा.
I'm with you, Shivani, and probably, in my opinion, again, this vein on this, but probably, in my opinion, we should have continued for maybe a couple of more days and taken out, because I mean, I come from a place where I know many of these targets because I was involved in Balakot strike. So we know the number of thick folders that we have and how many places we wanted to go. And I can confess that some of these, even probably greater targets, we could have gone for a couple of more days. But that's a no further, because I'm totally with Sushant on this. We are number 5 eyeing at number 3. गली के गुंडे के साथ उलझना is not a good thing to do.
Okay.
But was it too premature? In my opinion, yes, it was little too premature. And who came and announced it? Trump, and it should have been the India which announced it. So Koi Gan Murugan took Banduk and took to Twitter, and he said, I've spoken to both of them, and like a good boss, he said, हमने उनको बात कर लिया और हमने सुलह कर दिया. अरे, firstly, who asked you to सुलह करो? And secondly, आपने सुलह कर दिया, उसके बाद तुम्हारे को मुँह की खानी पड़ी, because even after the ceasefire attack, Munir didn't listen to you. Munir showed 2 fingers to you. What have you done to Munir when Munir showed 2 fingers to you? Abhi, now why don't you come out in public and say, Munir disobeyed me, so I whacked him, and now he is no more the army chief. Do you have the gumption to say so? So these are the,
So, okay, I'm facing difficulty with your link again. Lieutenant General, predominantly the sense is that we have more to lose, so we shouldn't escalate or, just continue to take it further. This is something that was expressed all along as well, when it was clear that Pakistan wants to constantly goad us into a state of conflict and possibly a war. Are economic considerations the most important in going for this ceasefire, you think?
No. I'm afraid I have a different opinion and a different take altogether. I want to make my points and the way I think about it. Maybe I'm completely wrong. We did not ask for a ceasefire. Please understand that. The Pakistani DGMO asked for a ceasefire. Go back to the press conference. What did the DGMO say? He was busy somewhere and he got a message from the DGMO of Pakistan that he wants to talk to him. And our DGMO agreed to take the call and talk to him. And whatever happened in between, he didn't share. But all what he said at finally 3:35 or something like that the DGMO of Pakistan and they agreed to a ceasefire. Let me make one point very clear to you. What is the meaning of the word ceasefire? Ceasefire means that at the moment we will stop firing at each other. And the ceasefire, which was agreed to at 3:30 or 3:40, announced by whoever at 5 o'clock or whatever it is to the public, it was broken in the next 3 hours. And I said it yesterday also, and I say it even tonight. Ceasefire means that it can be broken anytime. It can be broken tonight, it can be broken tomorrow morning, tomorrow evening, tomorrow night, whatever. The point is this: Pakistan can break the ceasefire, so can we break the ceasefire. Don't think that we can't break the ceasefire if the ceasefire is not agreed to the Pakistanis. It is best to do a ceasefire, in my opinion, at this point in time, that if you can achieve your final objective, which is laid down by the government, without having to spend any more days in warfare, it's a good idea. So this ceasefire is going to be discussed with the DGMOs, between the two DGMOs tomorrow at 12.
Yes.
And it is, I'm more than certain that there will be some conditions which we will lay down. We will extract, we are in a position of much stronger strength. We are negotiating with him tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon with a position of tremendous success. And we're going to ask him, boss, A, B and C, you have to agree. If you don't agree, I will call off the ceasefire. So if this is a cheaper option, then why not exercise it?
Okay, sir, I get your point.
We don't want to escalate to go civilians. So the point is simple. Ceasefire asks for them. Ceasefire doesn't mean it is forever done. Ceasefire means they can break it, I can break it. Ceasefire means we will have a condition. If the condition is not acceptable to them, we will break the ceasefire.
Okay, I get it, sir. Thanks a lot for explaining that to us. I have limited time. I will bring Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey one more time. Sir, just hold on with me. I've got some breaking updates also coming in. We're getting to know that in London, some 50-odd Pakistani supporters with Palestine supporters are at the High Commission of India in London right now, and they're trying to put pressure on India. It seems my colleague Siddhant is joining us with more on this. Siddhant, what's going on?
Well, yes. Shivani, this input has been brought to us by Securities Editor Manoj Gupta. And in fact, he is confirming this to us, that there is a protest which Pakistan has planned. And in fact, there are a few Palestinians also protesting outside Indian High Commission in London. Perhaps what's the reason for this protest, we really don't know. But what I could sense is that maybe after the defeat of Pakistanis in the conflict, perhaps, now this is a new pressure tactics that they have come up with by doing protests outside Indian missions. They are following Indians, because Indians have been doing this for a long time, because Indians have always believed in peaceful protests and peacefully raising their voices. Now, there is also a very special twist which they have tried to give to this protest. That usually we have seen, Shivani, that there was a trend that in Indian protests there used to be Israeli flags.
Yes.
And so now what they're doing to counter it, they have brought Palestinians with them. I don't know whether Palestinians support them genuinely, or perhaps they have been brought just for the showcase purpose. But also the fact is that India's policy for the two-state solution is same, and perhaps everybody is aware of India's position. India has not sided with either of the sides there. So this is a new pressure tactics which Pakistan has come up with.
All right. I do thank you, Siddhant, for joining us. I have just time for one more intervention from Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, and let's try and look forward a little bit. What do you think is in store? I mean, we only can trust Pakistan so much, right? We've set new benchmarks in our dealing with them. We've made taken very punitive actions against them. We've said that any act of terror in the future is an act of war. I think the international community also gets our commitment to this now. But what do you sense Pakistan could try to do in days or months to come?
Shivani, I will very quickly cover all the points. No? Firstly, let me debunk that thought which you have got, that international community gets it. They don't, right? And they will never. And possibly today's, in any case, international community is totally toothless. They had a capacity only to fight on behalf of terrorist people whom they have nurtured over a period of time. So let's never trust the international organizations. And they are not going to be with us because they don't understand our country, our challenges, right? That is one part. The second is, I actually thought these people have come to protest in front of the High Commission that why are you calling off, why are you having ceasefire? We want you to bang Pakistan army enough so that actually, we can have a reprieve from them. But I think Siddhant has said something else. But please understand what General Shankar Prasad was saying, right? With all my experience, and I so much really respect him for this, what he said, and I respect him otherwise. Military operations have to be surgical. They have to be mission oriented. In national security objectives, missions, there are parameters which are laid down. Any country, after achieving that success, when it wants to prolong, right, it will come at different cost. The enemy which is at loss will like to prolong it, right, because it gets benefited. it may be for any reason, any other reason. The benefit what has come to them is when Trump goes on the Twitter and says that I talked, and the Pakistanis wanted so very badly to internationalize this thing. Once it said, we are not getting into it, right? Now, whatever reason we have done, when Trump comes, they have achieved that one notch. You imagine this thing had got over the first day, first night. This hyphenation would have not happened, right? The more you prolong, the more you are giving handle to this country, which is a rogue country, right? We must not allow that to happen. However, right, having said that, now when the time comes, if we are pushed to shove, right, then in my mind, going for a ground offensive too soon or going for a war which is a comprehensive war may not be very good for us. Who's the stronger nation, right? If they want to get into a drone on drone, air on air, missile on missile, I think it's a great thing to do, right? The only thing is that we can touch. I started by saying, we will hit you, we will hit at will, right? We can cover the length and breadth whenever we want, wherever we want. We got the capacities, capabilities, integration. Pakistan Army is based on Pakistan Army, whereas Indian Armed Forces is a synergized, integrated force, which is enmeshed with the civilian infrastructure. Now, I just want to call back yesterday's two pictures, which I again highlighted yesterday. The Prime Minister is talking to the CDS, everybody. It's a very comprehensive, easygoing exchange happening where information is being exchanged. On the second side, when you see Shahbaz Sharif and these people talking to each other, then look at this. Look at the difference, right? There is an organized system which is happening. On the other side, what is happening is there's a ragtag guy who's hidden, not seen on the screen. Asim Munir is missing in action. There is a Khwaja Sahab who's talking about social media se khabar aayi hai. There's a flap which is happening. There are MPs who are crying. There's a whole thing which has changed. So trust me, what do you want? What does the nation want? They wanted blood. They wanted revenge. They have got it. Now, here and after, the thing remains, what is your long-term aim? And that let it be discussed at the high table before it's being diverged. I'm sorry, Shankar Prasad. I think, sir, you were saying something.
Sir, I have limited time. 30 seconds, please.
All what I want to say in response is, nobody is talking about a war. We don't want to convert Pakistan into a Gaza or a Ukraine. Our objective is to fight for terrorism and remove terrorism. So what I'm expecting out of this discussion that is taking place over the last 2 days and the answer on the 12th is, we have certain conditions for this ceasefire. The conditions, if met, great. If conditions not met, we will pursue this further to finally achieve our objective of attacking terrorism and their backers. That is the direction to the nation.
Absolutely.
So please remember, we are not going for a conventional war. We don't want to go unless Pakistan wants to try.
Yeah, so let them try their luck. If they do, then the Indian Army has made it very clear that the action is going to be fierce and punitive. Those are the two adjectives used. I've run out of time. I do thank our expert panel for joining us. Time for a very short break. We'll get you more in just a bit.
They have code-named this operation Operation Sindoor. The Indian Army, through Operation Sindoor, has hit 9 targets.
You try to target our bases, you try to target our capital, or you try to target our cities, we will hit you so hard that you will not be able to fly your machine.
News coming out that nervous Pakistan is seeming to wave the white flag.
This is what Manoj Gupta is bringing for us, this piece of information that Pakistan wants to de-escalate.
As we slip into evening on May 10, Donald Trump, US President, has now announced that India and Pakistan have agreed to a ceasefire.
Donald Trump posting on Truth Social that both India and Pakistan have announced a ceasefire.
To start with, our fight was neither with the Pakistani military nor with anybody else who's there on the other side. Our fight was with the terrorists. We neutralized the terrorists that we selected to be neutralized, and thereafter we only maintained the air defense posture. However, we were relentlessly pounded by waves after waves, night after night, by his UCAVs, by his drones, and by his other unmanned aerial systems. And that left us with no choice but to retaliate, and yet our retaliation was calibrated, it was graduated, and it was proportionate. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the aftermath of the cowardly attacks on innocent tourists at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani-sponsored terrorists on 22nd April, the Indian Navy's Carrier Battle Group, surface forces, submarines, and aviation assets were immediately deployed at sea with full combat readiness in concert with the joint operation plan of the Indian Defence Forces. You may be aware that we tested and refined tactics and procedures at sea during multiple weapon firings in the Arabian Sea within 96 hours of the terrorist attack. The aim was to revalidate our crew, armament, equipment, and platform readiness to deliver various ordnance on selected targets precisely. Thereafter, our forces remained forward deployed in the Northern Arabian Sea in a decisive and deterrent posture with full readiness and capacity to strike select targets at sea and on land, including Karachi at time of our choosing. The forward deployment of the Indian Navy compelled Pakistani naval and air units to be in a defensive posture, mostly inside harbors or very close to the coast, which we monitored continuously. The Indian Navy maintained seamless maritime domain awareness throughout the duration and was entirely aware of the location and movement of Pakistani units. In effect, we had and continue to have good battle space transparency using our maritime domain awareness.
Sir, let me ask you, did we or did we not use the BrahMos missile in Operation Sindoor?
Yeah. You see, it's difficult to confirm by me, but the TV channels, news media, they all have reported that BrahMos has been successfully used against Pakistani ground assets. And if our Air Force has used it, I am very proud of it. And I feel that I have repaid my duties to India.
Just tell us about the BrahMos now, whether or not it's happened or not, we'll wait for an official confirmation. But the Pak Foreign Ministry said that BrahMos missiles was used, cruise missiles was used. But the Pakistanis also used the Fateh 2. So let's try and understand, compare, contrast the Fateh 2 and BrahMos. How did BrahMos happen and what are the capabilities of the BrahMos?
You see, BrahMos is a cruise missile, and its range varies from 300 to 800 kilometers. We have different applications of different versions of the BrahMos. We have land-to-land version, we have land-to-ship, we have ship-to-ship, ship-to-land, and we can launch BrahMos from Sukhoi 30 aircraft also against land targets and sea targets. What Pakistani have used is a strategic missile. It is a ballistic missile having a conventional payload, and it is reported that it was headed towards Delhi. And our air defense system has proved that they can deny any air attack to our adversaries.
We'll get to the gradients of the air defense system because many have been taken by surprise of that because of that in a bit. But let's talk about BrahMos, the payload that it has as a cruise missile. Are there various gradients, and how did the whole process of developing the BrahMos happen, or is this the first time that it's also been pressed into service if it has been used?
First, I would like to tell you that we have conducted more than 130 tests of BrahMos in various configurations. It includes development test as well as the flight test for users validation. Apart from this, BrahMos is a cruise missile. Cruise missile means it can take a trajectory like an aircraft. It can go for low-high trajectory, it can go for low trajectory, it can go for low trajectory. And being a cruise missile, it can fly over the surface of water about at the altitude of about 5 to 10 meters.
10 meters. So then it's very difficult to be detected by radar.
Yes, it's very difficult for any ship-based radar to detect it. In fact, what happens because of the curvature of the Earth, enemy ships can see the BrahMos only about 2 to 3 kilometers away. It gives them about 12 to 15 seconds to react. We always say that we always give some time to our enemy to say their final prayers. We call it jokingly. But the BrahMos has a capability to reach anywhere. And the beautiful thing about this missile is it's very accurate. It's accurate to the pinpoint level. And it is different than the ballistic missile in the sense, ballistic missiles means the way you throw stone in the air and it comes down to the enemy territory. The trajectory it follows is called a ballistic trajectory. This, the one which was coming towards Delhi, Fateh 2, which Pakistanis have fired, it was a ballistic missile.
On BrahMos, you said it's a cruise missile. So what are the speeds and what is the distance that it can cover? So if, let's say hypothetically, that the Noor Ali Khan airbase was struck by a BrahMos missile, from where, what is the distance it would have traveled and at what speeds would it have traveled?
Yes. The BrahMos
hypothetically is the operative word.
Yes. The BrahMos missile is having a range from 300 kilometer onwards. Now what happens if you integrate Sukhoi 30 MKI, then the range is immaterial because the Sukhoi can fly up to 3,400 kilometers, and if you do the fueling, refueling, then the range goes to 5,500 kilometers. So when it comes to the BrahMos range is, it depends upon the range of Sukhoi 30 MKI. Now, coming to the warhead, it uses a conventional warhead. It is not nuclear.
It's not nuclear.
Not nuclear. And this missile can destroy, I want to give you an example.
Right.
If you take a ship, we have taken a discarded ship of Indian Navy while testing our missile, and it was about 4,500 ton of steel.
Okay.
Within 4.5 minutes, we could reach to around 300 kilometers. And on impact, the ship was broken into 2 pieces and got sunk in about 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes. So you're
this
saying
is the power of missile.
So that means they should be traveling at what? 3.5 Mach speed?
It travels at the speed of 2.8 Mach.
2.8 Mach. So just below 3 times the sound of speed.
Yes.
Mach is the sound of speed, the sound barrier.
Yes.
So 1 Mach or Mach 1 is at the speed of sound. Mach 2 is twice the speed of sound. 2.8 is nearly 3 times the speed of sound. That's the speed that the cruise missile takes.
Yes.
And you said that 4,500 tons of steel was split into 2 on impact.
Yes.
So if such a missile, one missile like this were to impact, say, an airbase, what is the kind of destruction that it can inflict?
It can cause huge damage to the runways. All the air bases are having command and control centers. They have radars, they have power generation units, and they have the assets to house the aircrafts. So all these can be destroyed by this missile.
No. Okay, how easy or difficult is it to transport this missile? Is it very heavy to put to cart, to ship, and also to mount? You said it can be mounted on a Sukhoi, that is, so there is air to surface. It can be carried or launched off a ship, so it is, say, sea to surface, sea to air. So how easy or difficult is it to move this?
You see, although the weight of the missile is about 2,800 kilograms, but for Sukhoi 30, it's about 2,200 kilograms. We have all the material handling equipments to load the missile onto Sukhoi, and it doesn't take more than 10-12 minutes to load a Sukhoi with a fresh missile. And you see, the material handling is not an issue. The main issue is engaging a target, reaching there successfully, and ensuring that the destruction takes place. So the data of the target is already fed by the pilot, and once he reaches in the desired position, and then he releases the missile towards the target. And once a target is engaged, locked, then the missile will go on its own to the target.
Now, can it be intercepted?
You see, the BrahMos is a supersonic missile. It cannot be intercepted by the air defense system of Pakistan and to the extent by China. But it all depends upon the future. In future, we may develop a radar, a quantum radar, which would be able to, but we are still 10-15 years away from that. It cannot be intercepted by any known air defense system.
So you're saying now, for a person who really does not understand common parlance, you said that Pakistan launched the Fateh 2. It's like when I throw a stone. So if I throw a stone, it will go into a trajectory up, and then it will come down.
Yes.
So it has got to have a trajectory, so where I'm throwing something and it goes. So that's the ballistic.
Yes.
The cruise is that once I lock the target, it can fly, it can float, it can glide.
Like an
aircraft.
Like an aircraft.
Like an aircraft. So this is superior technology, far superior technology.
A cruise missile follows a very difficult technology. I think we are the first in the world to master this. And in fact, the United States also undertook the development of this technology in the 70s and 80s. But looking at the complications and the cost involved, they have discarded it. And now they are working on the hypersonic, but they don't have any supersonic missile, liquid supersonic cruise missile. They don't have.
They don't have. So
no,
Bharat
nobody.
is one of the only in the world to have a liquid supersonic cruise missile?
Bharat and Russia.
Network 18 decimates Times Internet with over 6 times more unique users on social media. Network 18, the undisputed leader of news networks, way ahead of the times.
Mahi sir, how much?
To start with, our fight was neither with the Pakistani military nor with anybody else who's there on the other side. Our fight was with the terrorists. We neutralized the terrorists that we selected to be neutralized, and thereafter we only maintained the air defense posture. However, we were relentlessly pounded by waves after waves, night after night, by his UCAVs, by his drones, and by his other unmanned aerial systems. And that left us with no choice but to retaliate, and yet our retaliation was calibrated, it was graduated, and it was proportionate. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the aftermath of the cowardly attacks on innocent tourists at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani-sponsored terrorists on 22nd April, the Indian Navy's Carrier Battle Group, surface forces, submarines, and aviation assets were immediately deployed at sea with full combat readiness in concert with the joint operation plan of the Indian Defence Forces. You may be aware that we tested and refined tactics and procedures at sea during multiple weapon firings in the Arabian Sea within 96 hours of the terrorist attack. The aim was to revalidate our crew, armament, equipment, and platform readiness to deliver various ordnance on selected targets precisely. Thereafter, our forces remained forward deployed in the Northern Arabian Sea in a decisive and deterrent posture with full readiness and capacity to strike select targets at sea and on land, including Karachi at time of our choosing. The forward deployment of the Indian Navy compelled Pakistani naval and air units to be in a defensive posture, mostly inside harbors or very close to the coast, which we monitored continuously. The Indian Navy maintained seamless maritime domain awareness throughout the duration and was entirely aware of the location and movement of Pakistani units. In effect, we had and continue to have good battle space transparency using our maritime domain awareness grid. As you are aware, our response has been measured, proportionate, non-escalatory, and
Thanks a lot for staying with us. We're getting you continuous coverage of Operation Sindoor. I'm Shivani Gupta. In the last 4 days under this operation, massive damage has been caused to Pakistan. Operation Sindoor, which began on May 7, was in revenge of the Pahalgam attack in which 26 innocent lives were lost. India first targeted 9 terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, but this was followed by retaliatory action by Pakistan. The rogue state targeted innocent civilian areas and also many military installations on the Indian side, both across the LC and the IB. Though there is a ceasefire as we speak, Pakistan did violate it initially. India has given a befitting reply by targeting several air bases and military installations in the last couple of days in Pakistan, which made desperate attempts then to achieve a ceasefire with the Indian military. A short while ago, DGMOs of the tri-services addressed the media and put a lot of facts through. Let's play out some excerpts.
The Pakistan Army has reported to have lost approximately 35 to 40 personnel in artillery and small arms firing on the line of control between the 7th and the 10th of May. Across those 9 terror hubs left more than 100 terrorists killed, including high-value targets such as Yusuf Azhar, Abdul Malik Rauf and Mudassir Ahmed that were involved in the hijack of IC-814 and the Pulwama blast.
Their planes were prevented from coming inside our border. All right. So we do not have the wreckage with us, but definitely we have downed a few planes. Numbers, we would not like to hazard a guess out here. Okay. I have the numbers. Okay. And we are getting into the technical details of it to establish it. So I would not like to put a figure at this time, but definitely there are losses from their side which we have inflicted.
In the aftermath of the cowardly attacks on innocent tourists at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani-sponsored terrorists on 22nd April, the Indian Navy's Carrier Battle Group, surface forces, submarines and aviation assets were immediately deployed at sea with full combat readiness in concert with the joint operation plan of the Indian Defence Forces. Our forces remained forward deployed in the Northern Arabian Sea in a decisive and deterrent posture with full readiness and capacity to strike select targets at sea and on land, including Karachi at time of our choosing. As you are aware, our response has been measured, proportionate, non-escalatory, and responsible from day one.
Very categorical statements made there by the 3 military chiefs. Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, former GOC, 15 Corps of the Indian Army, Lieutenant General S. Harimohan Iyer, former Chief of Staff, Northern Command, Indian Army, both joining us. I do thank you, gentlemen, for your time. Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, coming to you first up. You know, that statement about India's naval intent stood out really, and we played out an excerpt of that. Here, of course, we are miles ahead of Pakistan. The fact that the general there mentioned Karachi and mentioned that we can strike Karachi at the time of our choosing and at will. Very big statement there of intent.
Yeah. So actually, unfortunately, not everybody is on the panel, but I just want to convey one thing. There are doubters in our country who seek all the time, proof every time from, especially from Indian armed forces. It's very, very strange because no other country actually seeks proof. They all accept whatever they say. And I think it was not planned, at least it seems to me. It was not planned, but eventually we had to come out and the DGs came out to actually put things to rest. The couple of points before I come to this answer, is, see, the process has been explained so beautifully by the three the Director Generals. What was our intention? What is the mission? What is the political mission which was given to us? What was achieved? And thereafter, the political mission has been that you remain firm, give equitable, proportionate response to anything which comes, but don't escalate. Control the escalatory ladder. Shivani, you go to a street fight, or you go to two nations who go to a fight. They eventually land up with world wars, right? The ultimate test of a professional force or a competent government, right? And I'm not a part of government anymore, but I just want to emphasize, is the one which can control the levers for their own advantage. They know when to stop, right? Unfortunately, you're dealing with a system which is unable to understand that. Of course, there will come a time when he'll stop, when he's compelled to from within and from the environment. So there is the difference between the two forces. We are a professional force under a political control, right? There you got a radical force, which is actually, when you see the pictures, I feel ashamed to be wearing uniform in the similar manner as the Pakistani. I always thought they were a very professional force. When those 7, 8, 10 draped bodies were lying, there is 1 3-star, 1 2-star, 1 1-star. They are lined up for giving state funeral.
Yeah.
So while till the time we always thought that Pakistan army is running the terrorists, right? We never thought that the terrorists are now running the Pakistan army.
Yeah.
Because 35 to 40 soldiers have died. How many such pictures have come on Pak ISPR to say condolences, in which, every soldier who passed away on my charge or anybody's charge, starting from his commanding officer till the 3-star, and in case the army commander is there or chief is there, we go down and pay respect. Here it is happening ulta. People try and hide the connections to the terror environment. There is a corps commander and a GOC of a division who are standing in a state funeral for a terrorist.
Yes.
What is happening? Which country are we dealing with? So therefore, it is very more important. There is the responses are nuanced, right? It has to be very clear. You are risking your future of country. And again, yesterday, day before yesterday, every time I have been talking, I'm a man in uniform. I have seen enough blood and gore, seen enough operations. I've seen everything. When I make this mention, and I have read enough warfare, it is an animal unleashed. You can't control it. It's best to control it and leverage it. Coming on to the naval part, having demonstrated, please understand that in terms of numerical superiority, in terms of infantry or Indian army, they are way behind, right? They have got a binary stretch going on. If they pull out enough from Balochistan is gone. You get people from Fatah, that will happen. They are stretched out, right? They wanted that half war to happen, for which they targeted Hindus, right? That there will be a communal right. But here you saw that everybody who's a Muslim or anybody except for possibly these 5 stars, the Bollywood stars and all. Everybody has rallied behind the country unequivocally. What is happening there? They are worried that binary stretch which has happened to them from the western to the eastern, and the Afghans being for blood on the other side, they got a trouble there. Now comes to the Air Force. In the recent learning lessons of the Air Force today, the more you fly, the more challenging it is, right? And this has been seen by what has happened in the Ukraine-Russian war. So here the smartest move is try and use drones, missiles as much as you can. And when required, you go in for standoff fire, don't enter. They did this mistake of entering into our territory, and the Air Force DG explained to you what happened to them. And some of them got hit where they were on the airfield. So once you have breached that ironclad ED barrier, the game is open for picking, right? That's very important. Coming on to the naval power. Naval power has only sailed. It has not yet been applied. It is only on posturing.
Yes, offensive posturing, yes.
The way, the moment they open, their entire southern portion is open CSAM. And they are in trouble. The numbers, we got 2 aircraft carriers which are all set. And those are protected by us. Numbers of, ships, frigates and the works are nearly about 70 to 80% of subs are on road, they are on sale. They have got more than 50 to 60% under repair. Their economy is on down. You require money to punch that way to repair. And war fighting is very, very expensive. Humans, equipment and everything.
Yes.
So when that flotilla is sailing there, you recall in 71, the 7th Fleet came about and everybody talked of it as a game changer. Who is coming to defend Pakistan? It is a pariah country. It is only have got some love going along with the deep state, right? Or the Chinese to some extent. But who wants to invest in a bad business today? They are all good businessmen.
Okay.
So they are isolated, and that statement by the DG of Naval Operations has to be heard loud and clear.
Yes.
When they apply, their businesses are going to be down forever.
Yeah. No, I think which is why that statement really stood out, because generally speaking, India doesn't do this, right? Indian military is not in the business of doing this, but this was a very clear warning that we have the capability, of course, but also the intent to use our naval power, which is far, far superior to yours, if you push us into this. Lieutenant General Iyer, your take also on this, but overall, I just wanted to get a sense from you. A lot has been said about Indian and Pakistani armies or military strength over the last many decades, let's say since 1971 or even since Kargil, right, which was localized. This is the first time we've been battle tested in a way. What do you think are the differences that have emerged between the two militaries, and how far ahead do you think India is that we can say safely? Because the differences have been re-established as night and day.
So I can start by making a statement. And the statement says, China and Turkey has Ukrained Pakistan.
Okay.
So what the Americans did to Ukraine, China and Turkey did it to Pakistan. So they were trying to battle test their equipment in an environment where, they felt it will give them a lot of dividends, possibly a lot of buyers. And in the bargain, what has happened is they have exposed Pakistan.
It's the exact opposite. Actually, that has happened to all of their equipment as well.
So I'll qualify it by saying, we have been doing all these war games for the last decade plus. And whenever the air battle was being war gamed, one was always worried about his HQ-9 systems. They will always say, okay, we have to keep a standoff. He's got the HQ-9s. His AD is very good. His air power is, is supposed to be the king of Pakistan forces. In 48 hours, precisely 48 hours, this huge demon that was there amongst us has been written off. Today, our Indian Air Force is not going to be at all worried about anything that is going to be there on the Paki side. Because if his air defense has been knocked off, his aircrafts are not going to take off. And even if his aircrafts take off, the way we have demonstrated that we can hit his airfields, he'll have no place to land them back on. And let me also tell you, he will not have the kind of fuel available with him to keep them flying.
Yeah.
So you'll find them, in a kind of a tizzy as to what to do. The second thing is, he thought that the way the Turkish drones played very havoc with the Russians in Ukraine. So he tried the same thing with us. Unfortunately, our AD systems were much well organized. You see, the point was Russia was an attacking force. They went into Ukraine. So the AD did not possibly roll out in an integrated manner when they went in. And that is why they took losses with these Turkish birds.
But shouldn't they have been better prepared because they planned the invasion?
Yes, they were overconfident. I put it this way, they were overconfident. They felt they can do what Ukraine did to Russia to us using the same equipment. They were, I think, mighty gaga about their own air defense because they thought that they cannot be penetrated. So what have we demonstrated? We have demonstrated that we can hit with impunity.
Yes.
We can hit with precision. And what the DGMO described today, it is not that these targets were, not chosen on 22nd of April. These targets were available with us for ages. We have been maintaining a look and a watch on these places. We know who's there, who's not there. Our int agencies are getting us inputs. We have been continuously improving our target data by having better satellite cover, better maps. It is a continuous process that has been there. And at the time comes, we went in possibly against an overconfident Pakistan. They never expected so many targets to be hit simultaneously. And having received that hit, he was still feeling that he'll be able to, carry out a retaliation. And what we did to him yesterday, in fact, that's actually a very embarrassing thing. Every airbase of his has been hit and hit accurately.
Yes.
And I think I mentioned it last night when I was here, or day before yesterday night. It is a symbolic thing. If you are able to hit one vector on an airfield once, tomorrow 10 vectors can go and remove that airfield from what it is.
Yes.
So let's not get on to what damage we have been able. This is a kind of an indication to him that, friend, don't try it with us. We can knock you off. We can ensure that you don't have any Air Force to fly. And we will ensure that you will not have any vectors to, play around with your so-called full spectrum operation. I will not like to qualify that. But he keeps saying that, he will not hesitate in using his, nukes
Full
first.
spectrum, yeah.
But if he doesn't have any vectors, what is he going to use them with? So that these 48 hours have been absolutely brilliant for us. And what we have been able to achieve in these 48 hours is a kind of ascendancy on Pakistan, which in my mind is going to haunt him for the next few months. He may be able to fool his public for some time. But as the days roll out and the public realizes where they are, he tries something funny and the next hit is going to be even more powerful.
So,
as the DGMO very clearly mentioned today. And he's not going to keep fooling his public. This public is going to realize on some day that his forge is not so mighty as it tells itself to be.
Yeah.
So I guess it's been a fantastic 48 hours of operation as far as India is concerned. And we have achieved all possible objectives. In fact, I'll say objective plus to what we possibly set out on 6th of May.
Yeah. No, but that does bring me to my next question. And Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, do you think one of our objectives is to obviously set a deterrent, set higher costs associated with any kind of terror action or proxy action that Pakistan may plan against India on Indian soil? Where do you think that deterrent sits now versus earlier? And do you trust better sense to prevail in Pakistan, or do we have to function from the given that they will, of course, attempt something in some time?
Okay, the easier question I can answer first. To trust Pakistan? Well, I don't think their own people, they are known to stab each other behind the back. Ziaul Haq was propelled by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and he hung him. Nawaz Sharif brought Musharraf sorted him out. So, Imran Khan and Asim Munir, their game goes long back in historical context. You can't trust. When they can't trust each other, how do you think we should trust them?
Sure.
So that is my first answer. Let me just go back to a few this thing. What has happened is that there has been an escalatory ladder, right? Somewhere when this government came, they decided, okay, we are going to respond. Maybe it was a political compulsion, maybe because the present government came on a strong arm agenda, and they had to continue to prove to that. So once Uri happened, right, we went in for surgical strike, which was limited to land, right, and we did whatever we had to do, and it was announced after 11 days. Then Pulwama happened after a substantive gap, right? Then we went for Balakot, and thereafter we did not only go to POJK. We went and touched in international boundary. Number of people asked, including political parties, ki kitne mare, kya hua? For me, as a military professional, as a person who watches international shenanigans and how people exchange, they carry out dogfight at the national levels. Touching IB was a big signal which was given.
Yes.
Now comes this after significant time, right? Now again, I am not too sure that when Asim Munir passed an order and gave that speech, the indication was to kill 26. I have a feeling that they wanted to send a message, or they wanted to do something to please their own people or whatever, but it went out of hand. Now, the way Pulwama went out of hand, they are smart guys. They always keep the cool tempers only to the level which they can manage. So this, when it's happened, 26, there is a requirement of seeking blood, and I think it pushed the government to do something. And then we have now gone behind and hit and taken Pak Punjab in its entirety. It's a new normal. So what will happen is, similarly, after having hit Pak Punjab, those 2-3 headquarters, Muzaffarabad, Murid K and this thing, we said, again, we have sent you a message. Now if you don't behave, we are going to go one level higher. And me and General Hariharan have been together for quite some time. My biggest challenge used to be, and I was a total non-believer on this escalatory ladder. In fact, I have officially contested this issue. But today, when I look at this brilliance, whosoever is enforced on us, of maintaining a control on this, leveraging the force, is something very, very nuanced which is coming out. And I have to eat my own shit on this. But the bottom line is, one need to accept professional this thing if you have not been right. So this is really coming out true. I think they will continue to be punished without getting embroiled in full-fledged war. That should be our aim. That we continue to punish. Let Viksit Bharat of 2047 fructify. Right? That should be our aim. But in the military realm, we must continue to punish, because we need to behave with our neighbors the way they have to behave. Right? But if you get embroiled from the day one, if in a dogfight, as somebody said in the earlier this thing, trust me, Viksit Bharat 2047 is not happening. And the gainers in this are going to be two. One is the deep state, whose control on the military industrial complex you have started talking of by exporting and developing your own. Right? One. The Chinese, because of the stability in the region and the issue of tariff war or the economy going down, their economy and their jobs are shifting into our country. So look at two big players. I have talked of it 3 to 4 days back again in channel. It is important to have sane voice. Let these people who have been selected, elected by 1.4 billion population do their job without pushing them on a social media or a media on a screen by very, very, shouting match to egg them on for a fight. Right? Because
so can I ask you this though? Can I ask you this though? What is then our long-term strategy for Pakistan? Because we know that they are not going to mend their ways. Do we take it as it is, and you control this escalation, hit them, take punitive action, but go no further for a while, or how long do you think we can sustain?
So, Shivani, I want to ask you, for blood of one, how much blood you are seeking?
No, I'm not seeking blood at all, but I'm seeking a more permanent solution to the problem state of Pakistan.
Yeah, problems will come up when this state disappears, right? Or their strategic orientation of the leadership changes. But the current generation of the top leadership and below to the rank of colonel, right? And similarly in the political dispensation or elites belong to the age of Ziaul Haq, who have Islamized the country and also the entire army. So eventually you take out one bad apple, the second one is going to come up, right? So either we punish and we call out to the Pakistani population to mend the behavior of the people, let Pakistani state take over Pak army rather than Pak army controlling, which may happen, please see, in last about 2-3 years, Pakistan army has lost a lot of its prestige. When GOC 4-core house gets totally ransacked by people of Pakistan, it shows that they were no more the holy cow, right? That is one. Second is when the reels start coming up, their girls and boys keep on talking about their own Pakistan army, that they are into business, they are into political. Indian army se to kya ladenge, Indian army to unko turant khatam kar degi. We are not making these statements. These are reels coming from Pakistan soil, right? So there is a gap. There is a huge strength of Pashtun who are unhappy with Imran Khan, who was a legitimate leader. So is he good? I'm not interested, right? He may be equally bad. But the bottom line is there is a fissure which has happened in the country. We need not go physically to let it happen. There are so many ways to do. One leverage, a political tool, is Indus water treaty, right? It is a slow bleed. They thought of 1,000 years, 1,000 cuts. This is a great slow bleed. The world will hit us, right? The Pakistani people will hit us. But eventually our narrative should tell that we have suffered for 80 years. Nobody looked at us. Pakistani people did not look at us. Time now to mend your ways. So
limited
there are
time.
Other levers.
Sir, limited time. Let me give a minute to Lieutenant General Iyer as well. You said the last 48 hours have been absolutely brilliant for us, and the proof is there on our screens. Do you think with this, the Indian military has also sent a big signal to the world to not, consider India as pushovers? Certainly not when it comes to defending ourselves.
Okay, I'll qualify it by, I'll take 2 minutes.
Sir, I have very limited time. I'm really sorry about that.
I'll try my best to there is this issue of man behind the machine. Okay. Today you might have the best machine. If the man behind the machine is not good, the effect is not going to be there. What we have demonstrated in the last 48 hours is that despite having vintage machines, the air defense guns were vintage guns. The man behind the vintage gun was absolutely perfect. Now, with the kind of Atmanirbharta that is coming up, we are in the process of upgrading our systems. Today's Indian Armed Forces is not a modern force per se. It is becoming a modern force. Once our own 5th generation fighter comes in, 10 years time, once our Tejas Mark 1A comes in, there will be a growth in the manner in which our equipment is started coming out in the system. When the man behind the machine, which is, as it is a very potent one, when he gets a better machine to handle, the value of that man becomes even much more larger. So I would put it across that this is a demonstration to the world that Indian Army, and somebody mentioned it yesterday, I was in one of the TV shows, somebody mentioned that, we got better hits than what Israel got against the Iranian missile attack, and we had much lesser reaction time to what Israel had. They had 97% or something, we had 99% or something. So if we can demonstrate with the kind of equipment that we have, then we are able to thwart, and it is not very small number that was thrown at us. Fairly large number of drones were thrown at us, and we have been able to negate
Absolutely. We've come out with flying colors, as they say. Limited time. I'm sorry I'm cutting you short, but it is a fascinating discussion to just understand the message that has gone out over the last 48 hours. I do thank our guests for joining us. Let me also go across to this piece of news that is coming in. Remember, some Pakistanis and Palestinians have come together to protest against India at the High Commission in London. CNN News 18 has spoken to convener of BJP UK, Kuldeep Shekhawat, on the same. He has condemned the protests and said it's a shame that Palestinians are supporting Pakistanis, alleging that Pak ISI could be behind. Let's listen
in. Can you please update the protest by Pakistanis and Palestinian supporters at Indian High Commission?
Actually, it was planned by them yesterday that they would like to do a protest in front of the Indian High Commission. at 3 p.m. So we were expecting a large crowd because it's a Sunday, and on a Sunday sometimes people gather. But I think they have lost the whole game, and Pakistan's team is totally gone. Only roughly 50 people turned up, even after asking a support from the Palestine group. So I think the whole thing has fizzled out, and there is nothing happening.
So what is their agenda for this protest?
They wanted to pressurize India to stop the war, first thing. Stop anti-jihadi activities by India, which they think they have a right to do jihads for their community. And thirdly, they wanted support for Palestine to pressurize Israel, because India and Israel have excellent relations. So they wanted to pressurize India to put a bit of pressure on Israel, so the Israel story can
So
be
you are
sorted out.
saying main pressure was to stop India to act against jihadi groups in Pakistan?
That's right, yeah.
And no Palestinian group has turned up to protest with them?
The Palestinian group came with them with two specific sort of objectives. One objective was to support the Pakistani sort of action, that what Pakistan has done against India and what India has done against Pakistan during last 3-4 days. So they came in support of Pakistan. That was first thing. And secondly, they wanted to impress upon the High Commission of India that we should speak to Israel to stop the activities in Palestine, so that the Palestine public which is suffering should not suffer. But that's a humanitarian point which can be dealt in a very different way. They should not be coming with somebody like Pakistan for something like this. So it was really, really awkward for Palestinians to be part of a Pakistani setup.
So Mr. Shekhawat, since you are handling these protests from a period of time, again you are saying that the ISI is behind these protests?
I have no doubt about it. I have absolutely no doubt about it, that it is part of the Pakistani rogue elements who are trying to destabilize the region, destabilize the country, destabilize the peace process that has actually started off now again.
They have codenamed this operation Operation Sindoor. The Indian Army, through Operation Sindoor, has hit 9 targets.
You try to target our bases, you try to target our capital, or you try to target our cities, we will hit you so hard that you will not be able to fly your machine. News coming out that nervous Pakistan is seeming to wave the white flag.
This is what Manoj Gupta is bringing for us, this piece of information that Pakistan wants to de-escalate.
As we slip into evening on May 10, Donald Trump, US President, has now announced that India and Pakistan have agreed to a ceasefire.
Donald Trump posting on Truth Social that both India and Pakistan have announced a ceasefire.
To start with, our fight was neither with the Pakistani military nor with anybody else who's there on the other side. Our fight was with the terrorists. We neutralized the terrorists that we selected to be neutralized, and thereafter we only maintained the air defense posture. However, we were relentlessly pounded by waves after waves, night after night, by his UCAVs, by his drones, and by his other unmanned aerial systems. And that left us with no choice but to retaliate, and yet our retaliation was calibrated, it was graduated, and it was proportionate. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the aftermath of the cowardly attacks on innocent tourists at Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir by Pakistani-sponsored terrorists on 22nd April, the Indian Navy's carrier battle group, surface forces, submarines, and aviation assets were immediately deployed at sea with full combat readiness in concert with the joint operation plan of the Indian Defence Forces. You may be aware that we tested and refined tactics and procedures at sea during multiple weapon firings in the Arabian Sea within 96 hours of the terrorist attack. The aim was to revalidate our crew, armament, equipment, and platform readiness to deliver various ordnance on selected targets precisely. Thereafter, our forces remained forward deployed in the Northern Arabian Sea in a dissuasive and deterrent posture with full readiness and capacity to strike select targets at sea and on land, including Karachi at time of our choosing. The forward deployment of the Indian Navy compelled Pakistani naval and air units to be in a defensive posture, mostly inside harbors or very close to the coast, which we monitored.
The last 24 hours have been dramatic. Explosions, an escalation in the morning, a ceasefire announcement in the evening. That too by US President Donald Trump. And then Pakistan, being Pakistan, breaching the ceasefire within hours. We told you all about that last night. There were drones and projectiles, blackouts and sirens, a repeat of the past few days. India responded proportionately. Now we are calling it a stoppage of firing rather than a ceasefire. Needless to say, the border has remained tense. India says Operation Sindoor is still on. What does that mean? In simple words, this is the new normal. You fire at us, we fire back. You behave yourself, we leave you alone. That is the sum and substance of the message from India. The fighting may have de-escalated, but the conflict with Pakistan is on. So how did the ceasefire come about? Why did India agree to it? Were there mediators? What moved the needle? Tonight, we are bringing you the inside story, the story of how India and Pakistan effectively hit a pause button. A story that the world, especially the West, is eager to frame. Donald Trump and the United States would have you believe that this was American mediation, that it was Washington that stepped in and made both sides stand down. But that's not how it happened. In the hours after the announcement, we've been speaking to top sources in the government to piece together the entire series of events for you. Our story begins on April 22nd. Pakistani and Pakistani-backed terrorists killed 26 tourists in Kashmir's Pahalgam. India took diplomatic measures, including the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty. Pakistan had already suspended it in spirit. By not adhering to the rules, India put it in abeyance. Indian diplomats began engaging with their global partners. The message consistently carried three terms. The message from India to its global partners, it carried three terms: retribution, accountability, and serving justice. India promised these three things, and Indian forces began the preparation. 2 weeks later, on the night of May 7th, India launched Operation Sindoor. We hit 9 terror targets in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. From 1:05 to 1:30 a.m. It was over in 25 minutes flat. India achieved its military objectives in less than half an hour. And we did not hide it from the world. India issued a press release. India also reached out to Rawalpindi to tell them that this was non-escalatory. This was focused and measured, non-escalatory, that only terror camps had been hit, not civilian or military targets. But the Pakistani DGMO was in no mood to listen. DGMO is the Director General of Military Operations. India offered Pakistan a clear off-ramp right after launching Operation Sindoor. Pakistan refused to take it. It said it wasn't interested, it wanted to escalate, it wanted to respond militarily, and it did. With heavy shelling at the border, with drones swarming the skies and missiles being launched into Indian civilian areas. Pakistan also tried to take out India's military installations. It failed miserably. And this went on for 2 days. Pakistan's losses were mounting. The world was watching and making the usual noises. The world was calling for restraint. The Americans showed no interest in intervening. President Donald Trump said the two sides will sort it out. Vice President J.D. Vance said that there is no role for them. That is what they maintained. But then on the night of May 9th, the phones started ringing. US Vice President J.D. Vance called Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He spoke about a quote-unquote dramatic escalation of a conventional, not nuclear nature. And Prime Minister Modi told him that India's response will be strong. After that, the battlefield changed. This is early morning, May 10th. Pakistan launched a massive attack on India's base at Adhampur. This is a town in the northern state of Punjab. Pakistan also targeted Jammu and Kashmir. India responded as promised, swiftly and decisively. It hit multiple airbases in Pakistan and caused significant damage. Today, the Indian military revealed specific and precise details. It showed satellite images, and it showed the level and scale of destruction in Pakistan, what the Pakistani military suffered at the hands of the Indian forces. And we'll show you all those pictures in just a bit. But like I said, the strike caused significant damage. For the moment, let's go with that. There was significant damage, and it turned the tide. Pakistan panicked. It dialed Washington for help. It wanted the Americans to call India. Marco Rubio spoke with Pakistan's Army Chief, General Asim Munir. Marco Rubio is the US Secretary of State, their version of a foreign minister. And his next call was to S. Jaishankar, the Indian Minister of External Affairs. Now, we have learned that Rubio was informed in clear terms that Pakistan would have to make the first move. Their military would have to call India and ask for a ceasefire. It was a matter for the DGMOs to discuss, not the Americans. So around 1 p.m. local time, the Pakistani DGMO reached out on the hotline. The Indian side was busy at that point. Pakistan was kept waiting for more than 2 hours. Finally, at 3:35 p.m. on Saturday, May 10th, 3:35 p.m. Indian Standard Time, the call happened. Pakistan's DGMO called his Indian counterpart. Pakistan requested a ceasefire. Both sides agreed that there won't be any more attacks by land, air, or sea. This ceasefire came into effect at 5 p.m. The DGMOs agreed to speak again on Monday, that is May 12th. That is the story of the ceasefire. That is how Pakistan sued for peace and asked for a ceasefire, which they're already drilling holes into.
Sir, let me ask you, did we or did we not use the BrahMos missile in Operation Sindoor?
Yeah. You see, it's difficult to confirm by me, but the TV channels, news media, they all have reported that BrahMos has been successfully used against Pakistani ground assets. And if our Air Force has used it, I'm very proud of it. And I feel that I have repaid my duties to India.
Just tell us about the BrahMos now, whether or not it's happened or not, we'll wait for an official confirmation. But the Pak Foreign Ministry said that BrahMos missiles was used, cruise missiles was used. But the Pakistanis also used the Fateh 2. So let's try and understand, compare, contrast the Fateh 2 and BrahMos. How did BrahMos happen and what are the capabilities of the BrahMos?
You see, BrahMos is a cruise missile, and its range varies from 300 to 800 kilometers. We have different applications of different versions of the BrahMos. We have land-to-land version, we have land-to-ship, we have ship-to-ship, ship-to-land, and we can launch BrahMos from Sukhoi 30 aircraft also against land targets and sea targets. What Pakistani have used is a strategic missile. It is a ballistic missile having a conventional payload, and it is reported that it was headed towards Delhi. And our air defense system has proved that they can deny any air attack to our adversaries.
We'll get to the gradients of the air defense system because many have been taken by surprise of that because of that in a bit. But let's talk about BrahMos, the payload that it has as a cruise missile. Are there various gradients, and how did the whole process of developing the BrahMos happen, or is this the first time that it's also been pressed into service if it has been used?
First, I would like to tell you that we have conducted more than 130 tests of BrahMos in various configurations. It includes development test as well as the flight test for users validation. Apart from this, BrahMos is a cruise missile. Cruise missile means it can take a trajectory like an aircraft. It can go for low-high trajectory, it can go for low trajectory, it can go for low trajectory. And being a cruise missile, it can fly over the surface of water about at the altitude of about 5 to 10 meters.
10 meters. So then it's very difficult to be detected by radar.
Yes, it's very difficult for any ship-based radar to detect it. In fact, what happens because of the curvature of the Earth, enemy ships can see the BrahMos only about 2 to 3 kilometers away. It gives them about 12 to 15 seconds to react. We always say that we always give some time to our enemy to say their final prayers. We call it jokingly. But the BrahMos has a capability to reach anywhere. And the beautiful thing about this missile is it's very accurate. It's accurate to the pinpoint level. And it is different than the ballistic missile in the sense, ballistic missiles means the way you throw stone in the air and it comes down to the enemy territory. The trajectory it follows is called a ballistic trajectory. This, the one which was coming towards Delhi, Fateh 2, which Pakistanis have fired, it was a ballistic missile. And coming to the air defense, what happens?
We'll talk about air defense in a bit. I just want to talk a little more on BrahMos. On BrahMos, you said it's a cruise missile. So what are the speeds and what is the distance that it can cover? So if, let's say hypothetically, that the Noor Ali Khan airbase was struck by a BrahMos missile, from where, what is the distance it would have traveled and at what speeds would it have traveled?
Yes. The BrahMos
hypothetically is the operative word.
Yes. The BrahMos missile is having a range from 300 kilometers onwards. Now, what happens if you integrate Sukhoi 30 MKI, then the range is immaterial because the Sukhoi can fly up to 3,400 kilometers. And if you do the fueling, refueling, then the range goes to 5,500 kilometers. So when it comes to the BrahMos range is, it depends upon the range of Sukhoi 30 MKI. Now, coming to the warhead, it uses a conventional warhead. It is not nuclear.
It's not nuclear.
Not nuclear. And this missile can destroy, I want to give you an example.
Right.
If you take a ship, we have taken a discarded ship of Indian Navy while testing our missile, and it was about 4,500 ton of steel. Within 4.5 minutes, we could reach to around 300 kilometers. And on impact, the ship was broken into 2 pieces and got sunk in about 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes. So you're
this
saying
is the power of missile.
So that means they should be traveling at what? 3.5 Mach speed?
It travels at the speed of 2.8 Mach.
2.8 Mach. So just below 3 times the sound of speed.
Yes.
Mach is the sound of speed, the sound barrier.
Yes.
So 1 Mach or Mach 1 is at the speed of sound. Mach 2 is twice the speed of sound. 2.8 is nearly 3 times the speed of sound. That's the speed that the cruise missile takes.
Yes.
And you said that 4,500 tons of steel was split into 2 on impact.
Yes.
So if such a missile, one missile like this were to impact, say, an airbase, what is the kind of destruction that it can inflict?
It can cause huge damage to the runways. all the air bases are having command and control centers. They have radars, they have power generation units, and they have the assets to house the aircrafts. So all these can be destroyed by this missile.
No. Okay, how easy or difficult is it to transport this missile? Is it very heavy to put to cart, to ship, and also to mount? You said it can be mounted on a Sukhoi, that is, so there is air to surface. It can be carried or launched off a ship, so it is, say, sea to surface, sea to air. So how easy or difficult is it to move this?
You see, although the weight of the missile is about 2,800 kilograms, but for Sukhoi 30, it's about 2,200 kilograms. We have all the material handling equipments to load the missile onto Sukhoi, and it doesn't take more than 10-12 minutes to load a Sukhoi with a fresh missile. And you see, the material handling is not an issue. The main issue is engaging a target, reaching there successfully, and ensuring that the destruction take place. So the data of the target is already fed by the pilot, and once he reaches in the desired position, and then he releases the missile towards the target. And once a target is engaged, locked, then the missile will go on its own to the target.
Now, can it be intercepted?
You see, the BrahMos is a supersonic missile. It cannot be intercepted by the air defense system of Pakistan and to the extent by China. But it all depends upon the future. In future, we may develop a radar, a quantum radar, which would be able to, but we are still 10-15 years away from that. It cannot be intercepted by any known air defense system.
So you're saying now, for a person who really does not understand common parlance, you said that Pakistan launched the Fateh 2. It's like when I throw a stone. So if I throw a stone, it will go into a trajectory up, and then it will come down.
Yes.
So it has got to have a trajectory. So where I'm throwing something and it goes. So that's the ballistic.